Starting more or less on time tonight. I'm going to need a second here to get all my settings set up. I've got two windows open with me. And there are our quality options. So we're back to Old World tonight. I've been looking forward to this. I know we had Labor Day off. Excuse me. And I don't know. There's something about the fact that the holidays seem to keep dropping on Monday. Or falling on Monday, that kind of makes me feel like I'm picking the pocket of Old World. On the other hand, we have been doing this for a while as well, so I'm not entirely sure it's bad to take a break. The one regret that I have is that I was sort of on my way just before I load. Actually, I can load up Old World. I think I was playing this on my own, so I might need to mute out the music, but. One thing I do wish I was doing a little bit differently for Old World is I think we started off with Heroes of the Aegean. Now, this is because that was new and that actually had not been released at the time that I... yes. Good thing I checked. Okay. But yeah, so... this is also my time to mention that I was given a key for Old World from the publisher Hooded Horse. Obviously very grateful for that, and I got a chance to do Heroes of the Aegean early. And but I mean, it's very clear. I mean, now I'm starting to find my sea legs again, but or sea people's legs if you want to go far enough in history. But but I think it's fair to say that definitely it took me a little bit to sort of get reacquainted. This is one of the things that's really neat about Old World is that if you play 4X games, you're not going to be completely lost. But there's a lot here, and there's a lot of... It's very clear there's been some really careful thought about what makes these games work, and you definitely can still see me get caught by some cases where I'm not really thinking through the implications of what I'm doing. And in one sense, if you're playing a game and you're relying on a certain outcome, that can be really frustrating because you're like, oh man, I had plans and it all fell apart. But to me, I like that sort of stuff because that's an indicator to me. It's like, well, whose fault was that, right? Did you just assume the enemy was going to lie down and just let you do what you wanted? So overall, this is one thing that I like, but it's really clear that I will definitely be in some cases where the game, kind of overwhelms me and I have to go back and think through what I was doing. So, the first wall that we sort of hit was the Philip scenario in Here's the Aegean. So then I decided to do a little bit of time in just the regular base game. This is also in response to a request to just sort of see what the base game was like. And then we went into the Carthage scenario, which I've been quite enjoying. But we're now on to the Punic War, and the game's actually pretty clear that it's a difficult scenario. And it's, obviously this is a case where Carthage lost, and so there's quite a bit that the scenario is going to throw at you, and it was fairly clear that it's a tough one. Like right off the bat, it's a difficult scenario. But that isn't really the reason I moved away from it. What I noticed was that under Learn to Play, here we go. There are now the Learn by Playing scenarios. So there's the Learn to Play. So these are the 5 tutorials that the game gives you. We've gone through those. And my original feeling was that if you wanted to get a little bit more experience learning the game or playing the game, starting with the Rise of Carthage campaign is actually not a bad way to go about it. Now, the only thing I'll say is that that's probably true right up until the Rise of Rome, at which point the difficulty definitely has a very significant ramp up. So, my feeling is that perhaps these learn by playing scenarios are intended to be something that will give you a little bit more, a little bit of an on-ramp up to some of those more difficult challenges. Now, I've got to confess, I'm not 100% sure what's the difference between this and just starting a new game as the Able and moving on to, and just following the built-in tutorial for the game. I may be mistaken a little bit in terms of what's going on, but in any case, we're building up. The only real hesitation that I have about the way that I'm doing it right now is... why did I call this Sparta? Oh, right. I remember one now. Yeah, the only hesitation I have is that for this particular scenario, we can load it up actually. It is a difficulty level a bit below what I've been playing previously. Now that may not be a bad thing because, it's not like I've been facing, runaway successes for the first couple of Carthage. I mean, we did get epic victories on the Carthage scenario, so we've done all right. But it's also kind of clear that there have definitely been some cases with combat where I've struggled. So the big worry that I have about this is if I get too accustomed to playing on the easier difficulties, I may be learning some bad habits, and of course those bad habits are going to carry on to to difficulty levels where I feel the consequences a little bit more readily. But we'll see where we're at. Now, if I recall correctly, we are at war with Assyria. I also believe we are at war with Egypt, although Egypt, I think, they're kind of far away. Actually, no, hang on. They were recently showing up. Okay, yeah, there's a scout here. So, the reason why we're at war with Assyria was opportunism, essentially. We wanted to fulfill an ambition to get a certain number of cities. The Assyrians had basically sort of, I think they'd put a unit sort of in this area, and so our options were to give it up or to fight them for it. So we've been doing okay against the Assyrians so far. And what I'd like to do, if I can, is, double down on my efforts. So the best scenario for me is one where we completely take everything that Assyria has. And if we feel like we're in a bit of trouble as far as being able to get the goods, we may want to declare some sort of peace with them in order to focus our efforts towards Egypt. What I'm doing here is I'm moving some slingers into Eridu because this is going to probably be where the Egyptians start to fight. Now this already has problems, right? Because this is this is going to be a place where we have a bunch of lumber mills, and so covered in woods. But for a starter, we'll at least set ourselves up to to deal with the enemy. And then the hope is that we're going to be able to build out our military. You'll also notice just from my production that I've been changing my approach. I'm definitely sort of recognizing or trying to better appreciate how heavy the military influence in this game is. Because I'm one of these Civ players who definitely does not have a problem just sort of sitting down and building beautiful things. It's it's SimCity for me, but on an Empire scale. And I don't think there's nothing necessarily something wrong with approaching a game that way, but it's sometimes useful, particularly if you're running into a situation where you find you're losing or you're having difficulty frequently. It's sometimes useful to just kind of have a reminder as to exactly what kind of game you're playing, right? Like you want to make sure that you are, the challenges that you're running into are not you want to kind of, I'm trying to think of the right way to put it, you want to fail better. you want to try and, if you're going to have trouble with something, it's nice to be able to say, okay, I know why this went wrong, and I can sort of articulate the chain of reasoning that brought me to maybe an outcome that I wasn't looking for. Anyways, we've got a new generation, Kashaya the New, who is a schemer. So I should actually take a minute here. So we can use legitimacy to buy orders, which I definitely don't want to do. I thought there was another bonus. In any case, let's and the earth, see what happens. That was unexpected. General Cambyses, the minister, General the Spearman, has died in the field. After recent exposures to danger, Duchess Bellisuno has acquired new phobias and has lost courage. The court mourns. Today we grieve the death of Cambyses the minister, a member of the Babylonian court. His spirit will be venerated and his deeds will be remembered. He served us well. All right, now that the loss of that slinger is actually a bit of a bummer for me. But I think we're going to be able to make something out of this. Ugh, not enough. Yeah, we need all three. So I'm not spoiling for a fight with Egypt right now. I just want to make sure that we've got a presence. Let's now... So I do need to heal my people up at some point. Hey, Fragist. I don't think CK3 is likely to happen, unfortunately. I did do CK2 in the past, but... let's... So I think at this point I probably need to be focusing on my workers. Okay, so we've got a barracks on the way. It wants me to build a hamlet. Good for money, and I mean, we're certainly short on it. Although, I think if I was to build a hamlet, I'd probably want to extend my... I'd probably want to extend the borders a bit, so... I have done EU4. I think I only did it once on stream. I tended to notice that that one provoked quite a bit of backseating. But I have played it privately quite a bit. I have a tendency to play the Netherlands a lot in that game. Okay, so I think what I want to do here is I want to think a little bit about the recommendation that the game is giving me. So in one sense here, right, the barracks makes sense. In fact, an additional barracks here also makes sense because of all the adjacency bonuses. Oh, but we also don't have stone. Odeons and baths are... Okay, this is interesting. So, if I wanted to build the hamlet, there's actually... Or would it allow me to build it so close? Okay, so now I see why they want me to build the hamlet here. Because of the Odeon. You know what, I don't hate this option. And I do need the money, so... Okay, this unit will skip. Now this warrior... There's an interesting question about this warrior because, like, in one sense I don't really need it right now, but I do think that there is sometimes a worry about not having people in the region to sort of defend my interests. So I think we'll skip that warrior for now. Let's see if we can maybe make some things happen with my scout. Well, at the very least, some of the surprises are gone. Let's carry on in a similar fashion. Okay, and that's it for the turn. I am a little worried about the survivability of my units here, but I don't think there's enough for the slinger to do us in. So they kind of have initiative on us now, but I have the ability to run back to my walls. But Egypt definitely did not lose any time in bringing us some trouble. News arrives from Assyria. King Ashurbanipal the Strong of Assyria is dead. A new ruler, Queen Sariah the New of Assyria, has taken the throne. Their opinion of me is furious. Duke Marduk Nadin the Robust gives into basic desires more often lately. He has lost one discipline. Oligarch Tabni Ishtar of Babylon has died, and Oligarch Neriglasar, the tactician, is now head of the Kassite family. Their opinion of me has gone from cautious to pleased. Iltani joins the court, a new court scholar. Iltani has joined the court. Her curiosity and insight will aid Babylonia in unraveling the mysteries of the world. Welcome, Iltani the scientist. So the game's recommending land consolidation. There are some good arguments for land consolidation because it will help me with some of my improvements. Sovereignty, I do have the civics for tyranny or constitution. Traditionally, I go for constitution. It also helps me double down a bit on my urban specialists. Labor force is also tempting. We usually go for freedom, and that'll help me on my economy. On the flip side, though, camel archers and war elephants are pretty strong improvements. So, I think I'm going to go... I feel a bit bad going for the recommendation, but I think in this case it serves me pretty well. Oh man, I have no idea where the... There they went. Alright. There's a couple things I want to do here. One, we want to promote. Alright, companions and captives. You note with pride during the attack on Gozan that how one of your close companions, Eriba the hero, excels in the heat of battle. However, within the city, your troops discover a large party of Babylonian citizens captured during border raids into our lands. A majority are from the Amorite family. Time is of the essence, so we can only handle one of these matters. So, these people are beneath contempt. Instead, I shall reward my valiant companion. I mean, that's a really strong bonus, or we must prepare a celebration for our people. Military matters can wait. Okay, let's just take a quick look here. What are my relations? So we could definitely use better relations with the Amorites. Yeah, let's take care of politics first. A festival for the freed. A festival is held in celebration of the freed people of Gozan as they embark on their new life under Babylonia. One of those freed, Beltum Ramini, the schemer, catches your eye, for she is a rare beauty and intelligent too, according to the officials tasked with administering the newly freed city. A sudden urge strikes you. So we can bring her to court. She must be mine and mine alone. Or this seems like trouble. I can bring her to court. A new court minister, Beltum Ramini, has joined the court. Her aptitude in matters of state will keep Babylonia moving forward. Okay, so there is a small worry about what's going to be coming out of this region here. In fact, I think it's better for me to move the scout a bit closer just so I can get some advance warning. The fight for Gozan, I feel like, is going to be a pretty long and drawn-out one. Let's work on the Egyptians. So Eridu will have a warrior to sort of back us up a little bit here. Let's get a tutoring job in. go for the higher chance of wisdom. And we've got 3 left for the rest of my units. So, do I want another barrack? I mean, another barracks is not the worst thing I could be doing right now. Although I should also consider, you know, tending to some of my other cities. And this one I think we're just going to have to sit and wait. So it's recommending Shrine of Ishtar. That's a good one, especially for the growth. Probably we should work on the camp, though. That's a fairly obvious one. Ascension. The ascension of Sariah in Assyria has inspired popular rebellion in the city of Dilbat, known for its many ethnic Assyrians, who must do something to address the population's grievances before their fervor spreads. So we can deport all ethnic Assyrians from Dilbat, and I become intolerant. We could throw a celebration of their heritage, which will cost us food and money, or erect a statue. Okay, but I'm not humble. Okay, so let's throw a celebration. This is I'm gonna need to sell some stuff, but we've got more than enough food to handle this, so. A younger son of Persia's royal family has presented himself in Larsa as a defector and a great admirer of the culture of Babylonia. So we could take him into custody and make sure that Persia learns of our leverage. So in this case, I gain legitimacy. We could support the dreams of leading an artistic community in Larsa. I'm actually kind of inclined towards this because of the extra culture that we get. And how are you doing, Tikri? Lovely to see you as always. And then we could convince him to return to his homeland and heal the divide. I think in this case we'll go for the culture. Training. You've built your first barracks. Melee units that remain idle on a barracks will earn XP. There is a similar bonus for idle range units on a range. Unit promotions are cheaper for units with more experience, so make sure to train your units while not at war to keep them sharp. I will train my melee units in a barrack so they gain more XP. Military diplomacy. You approach Kurzagalu during his training one day and find the tutor running through theoretical situations. Say there is a walled city by the banks of a river. You have only a short time to convince them to surrender before your own resources run out. What will you do? Kurzagalu looks puzzled and then lights up upon seeing you, his questioning gaze seeking an answer to the puzzle. So we can divert the river to starve resources. We can storm the walls with an elite force. Or send a diplomatic envoy to convince them to surrender. In this case, I'm actually going to go for the diplomatic envoy because I tend to like giving base stats to my my rulers. All right, let's see if there's anything nasty that happens in the Assyrian territory. I don't know if we can wait this long for the warrior. This is also interesting to see them not dedicate that warrior to defending its city. I definitely want to get my scout in this region to see what's happening. News arrives from Egypt that Queen Neferure the Strong has abdicated. A new ruler, Queen Nubnet of the New of Egypt, has taken the throne. Their opinion of you is now angry. Patriarch Kashtilash the Greedy has died. Matriarch Ninunsi the Younger is now the head of Babylonian paganism. And Duchess Damictum is old enough to be tutored by courtiers. With the abdication of Queen Neferure the Strong of Egypt, rule of Egypt is passed to Queen Nubnet the New of Egypt. The new ruler, Queen Nubnet the New of Egypt, sends an envoy. The war between our nations has gone on for too long. Please accept a truce and we can enter a new age of peace and prosperity. We would lose legitimacy for it. But I think we are going to go for that. They were the ones to attack us, and honestly, being able to redirect those resources towards Assyria will help me quite a bit. Now that Prince Kurzaglazu has completed his study of tactics, how shall he contribute to the court? He can become a hero, courageous and an inspiring folk icon, or a commander, a disciplined battlefield leader. The adjacency bonus is pretty great. They're also first in line. You know what? I'm going to make them a hero. The war with Assyria continues to take its toll, but many in the court resist calls for peace. In fact, these ministers wish to intensify the conflict by calling for the capture of enemy cities. Shall our forces turn their attention to this objective, or shall we persevere with the current strategy? I definitely want to capture cities. That's what I was going to do already, so... Time passes quickly, and Duchess Damington... Sorry, one second. Is growing up fast and eager to learn. So second in line, I tend to like having a lot of bookworms in my court. So okay, now I don't want to spend too many orders on things that are not conquest, but I definitely want a better idea of what's going on in Assyrian territory. So we've got we've got fortification, we've got a ranged unit doing its thing. One of the really important things for me right now is to capture Gozan as quickly as I can so that I can start healing up these units, because if we fail to capture it in time, especially for an Assyrian counterattack, they're just going to wipe us off the map. So, but we do have some chances to improve our units. I'm actually kind of tempted to go for Besieger, but in this case I'm gonna go for the combat bonus. Ooh, we can get another warrior if I'm willing to spend money on iron. These portions of Gozan, our soldiers encounter Assyrian jails full of foreign captives. Once freed, many of these prisoners offer to replenish our forces on the front line. Shall these prisoners join our military ranks, or do we grant them asylum in Dilbat? So extra citizens is nice, but warriors are even nicer. Glorious. And we get them right away. Hang on. Oh no, yeah, that's fine. So again, this unit may be kind of coming around the edge to ruin our day, but it's a risk that I'm willing to take just so that I can claim Gozan sooner. Okay, I definitely need to defend this territory, but we need to reinforce, so... now, we're not at war with the Egyptians anymore, so we'll hold the line here. I do need to heal. Okay, warrior's done. There's a side of me that wants to do a slinger, but again, that's going to have a big stone cost, so we kind of need to wait on that. Definitely time for a rancher, and we are running short on iron, so I think the miner is pretty much a must at this point. As for Dilbat, again, I'd like to put a slinger down, but we really can't afford that right now. I should also consider some treasuries just because of the current state of the economy. I'm going to start with the fisher. Oh, we can start the treasury. Okay, and we'll put down a trapper. Apparently we've been able to build lumber yards for a while, so that's the shooting offense for me not building those. Okay, it looks like the rest of this is movement for the scouts, so we will investigate. Oh, there's Persia. Oh no, hang on. That's just a city site they've claimed. Alright, we kind of knew something like this was going to come. Oh no! I was really not expecting them to be able to do that much damage in one go. That's a really good unit we just lost, too. We've completed the legacy of King Nebuchadnezzar the Wise. Control 6 urban improvements. Reports of tribal raid from a Numidian outpost near Dilbat. Oligarch Neriglasar, the tactician, has died, and Oligarch Neditu of Babylon is now head of the Kassite family. A delegation from Persia has sent to help settle a minor dispute that is brewing between your two nations. At dinner, one of the parties speculates on who could beat the gods of war, leading to a spirited debate. They put forward General Araspes the Merchant as the best candidate. So it will come at the cost of relations with Persia, but let's be realistic. Everyone knows that our own Duke Marduk Nadin Ahi the Robust is unbeatable. The Harvest Festival. You've been invited to attend the annual Harvest Festival hosted by the Numidians. The week-long event is always memorable, brimming with feasting and fighting. It also presents opportunities for diplomacy. If you wish to attend, what is your primary aim this year? So we do not have strong or productive, so we could say attend and stick close with King Heimsal, focusing on improving relations, or sadly we will not be able to attend this year. It's nice for the experience, but I think in this case here, trying to avoid more fighting would be good, so we will attend and stick close to the king. How you doing, Vanguard Master? Things are going all right. I'm having a few troubles with my enemies, but nothing we can't work through. Oh, that's not useful. So I definitely want to put the hurt on the melee units that I can. Although that is shameful that I can't make more progress on that. Again, I don't think we should lose a unit unless they start moving more over the borders. Which, again, is a possibility. A possibility we may have to deal with, but... The good news is we've got a lot of bodies we can throw at the problem. Okay, so, again, we'll put you to sleep here. Now, this unit I actually want to move in on the Assyrians. I think we can afford to put you to sleep as well. Okay, so Babylon. Hang on, we already have a camp here, don't we? That's useless. I can see the pasture. That's a worry. Assyria is now at peace with Egypt. The Tudor mission of Beltum Rimini the Schemer has led to an event. Queen Kashaya the New, governor of Babylon, has been feeling quite poor lately and is now ill. The Hell of Duke Marduk Nadin Ahi the Robust, your brother, General the Slinger, third in line, has begun to decline. He's now ill. Shum of Babylon is converted to paganism, along with Zakiti the Drunk and the Kassite family. Trade network. You built your first hamlet. A hamlet and its upgrades, village, and town will produce extra money if brought into your trade network. Bringing a city into your trade network will reduce discontent there. The trade network consists of all tiles connected to your capital city. Hamlets can be connected with one another via roads, rivers, urban tiles, and even open water. You can connect a city to its harbor with a road. You can check the trade network overlay with the this button. On the left edge of the minimap, or the B key, and verify that a city is connected to the trade network by checking that the connection icon is displayed under the city banner. I will extend my trade network to gain more money and reduce discontent. Reports of Damictum's recent exploits at the Academy reach your ears. It seems a renowned philosopher has taken a liking to Damictum and has been giving her private lessons. Should we bring this philosopher to court? This mentorship will be good, or bring the philosopher to me by any means. Let's say the mentorship will be good. Recently, you've been thinking about improving relations with oligarch Nidintu of Babylon. Who knows what benefit such a friendship could bring? An influence mission would help you accomplish this goal. Shall you set out to influence oligarch Nidintu of Babylon and thereby improve her opinion of you? We get this for free, so I pretty much always want to take that. And then we can become eloquent or a delver. We are currently the head at... So we have a lot of quarries. The quarries would be helpful. But I think I'm going to go for eloquent. Okay, let's deal with war matters. So I always want to keep the pressure up on Gozen. As for how I handle the rest of it, that is something of an open question. Oh, again, we're so close. Looks like I can't actually move anywhere with these guys, though, so... Okay, now we need to figure out how I'm going to defend my people. So obviously this needs to be in Gozen a couple of turns ago, but while we're working on it, I do want to make sure I'm on hills because, well, actually they're skirmishers, so it's the woods that probably matter a little bit more to me, but in any case, we want to do the damage we can on the raiders. This seems like a good excuse to wake up my people and defend our territory. Let's go for next unit. So, I mean, there is definitely something to be said for defending my territory, but I think we're going to need more bodies for the Assyrian campaign, so... Syria counts as much weaker, but I think those numbers are going to even out pretty quickly. Okay, so Babylon's got production. I do need to address the fact that I've got some pretty significant deficits, so... I pretty much have a perpetual need for stone. We're out of iron, and we're losing money. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so this is just an exceptional amount of stone. I mean, I do like the extra orders. Okay, Trapper's only going to cost a... Well, okay, Treasury first. Then we'll go Trapper, Stonecutter. God, we have so many citizens we can make. I do kind of want to take advantage of some of the specialized resources. And I should be going for an officer, but I'm... No, I'm going to go for the poet first. Okay, as for Larsa... hopefully this... Okay, first of all, we should repair. But yeah, hopefully the miners are going to save us from our money woes. I think we'll also set up for another treasury. Alright, let's see the damage. So Spearman's definitely going to have a hard time. I'm kind of calling shenanigans on that, but I'm assuming they spent some action points. Duchess Demictum has studied with a renowned philosopher and has become inspiring. King Kashaya the New is no longer ill, fully recovered. Duke Marduk Nadin Ahi the Robust, General the Slinger, has died in the field, so that's not affected the line of succession. And never afraid to take risks, Prince Kuriglazu is bold. It pains the court to bring you news of your brother's untimely death. The capital mourns. Dilbat's treasury overflows with gold. The city leaders call for an immediate funding of key projects. What should we do with the excess funds? So there's a big temptation to save the gold for later. Oh god, we do not need food. Yeah, save the gold for later. And as much as I want to use my workers for things, we definitely need to deal with the bad guys here. So I'm going to slightly adjust my spear unit here. This is so we can take advantage of the poke. Now I don't think this is going to be enough to wipe out this unit, sadly. Yeah, we're just shy of where we need to go. Now, I still need to keep the pressure up on Gozan. In fact, it looks like they're actually recovering pretty well, so I'm in danger of losing this this contest. Also, notice that the flow of soldiers has really started to drop. I wonder if I can force march my way around. Not without giving up too many orders. So we are going to tutor with wisdom in mind, and now we're going to see what we can do with our workers to give us an edge. Okay, so theater is the most tempting, but we don't have the stone for it, so... I'm not crazy about this choice, but I will go for the farm. I think this mine makes a lot of sense. Definitely more soldiers for the front. Unfortunately, I don't quite have what I need to... Well, I mean, again, we do have the training. So if I want to... I'm not committing myself to this, but what will it take me? 12? Yeah, not happening. I'm willing to pay up for some orders, but not I have my limits. Okay, so I don't really have any improvements here, sadly, so I think here's two things I'm going to do. We'll start with a treasury, and then we're going to build a worker. Normally I like to go early on with workers, but the catch here is you'll notice that I'm really running up to the edge of what I can do on my turn as far as orders are concerned. So in this case, I'm sort of taking a bit of a break on that front. Now, I have a feeling they're going to turn around and really hurt this spearman. You're going... Well, clearly they see something. Yeah, I mean, they're doing a good job of wiping me out. Syria declares war on Persia. You've successfully exerted your influence upon Oligarch Nadintu of Babylon. Oligarch Nadintu of Babylon becomes influenced by Queen Kashaya the New. Queen Kashaya the New is feeling ill, lightheaded and weak, and scared to take risks or even make mistakes. Duchess Belisunu, your sister third in line, has become timid. Okay, so an axeman is an improvement towards my land units. However, chariots become quite tempting because of their flanking ability. Both have the same sort of attack. I think we will go for spoked wheel. Now, let's clear out what we can. Okay, now I gotta make some choices here about how I'm gonna handle this turn. I mean, in this case, Gozan is effectively completely... It might as well just be fully restored at this point, so... I'm going to pay up for the Force March on my Spear unit. In fact... kind of maximizing the damage there. Might be slightly smarter to go for the Slinger, but I figured doing some extra damage to the unit that's got a... like the elite unit probably helps me carry the day a little bit more. Now we really don't have that much left in terms of orders. So I probably need about 6 to do everything that I want. This one I think I'm actually willing to pay up a little bit. And this does mean that some of my workers go idle again, but we're in a war, so you have to make sacrifices. Queen Kashaya the New is thankfully feeling much better now and is no longer ill. Astronomy has been practiced in Babylonia since the days of your ancestors. Duchess Damictum has been studying the stars and comes to you in excitement, claiming that to have predicted a rare eclipse of the sun. This doesn't align with the existing calendars, and once your scholars check, they find an error in the current calendar system. It would take longer due to her inexperience, but allowing Dakitum to oversee the reforms would be a good chance for her to take responsibility. Now, I don't have scholars, so unfortunately we don't get to allow the reforms. We can praise her work, but let the scholars take over. Or we can get fewer civics, but gain the influence. Now, in this case, we're already doing very well for civics, so I think improving the relations is probably the better option. And a marriage proposal has arrived from the Chaldean family for your son, Prince Kurigalzu. How shall we respond to their suggestions? So we can get a corrupt or a timid wife. I'll go for the corrupt one. Okay, as before, we're gonna put the hurt on the elite unit. May not be enough to see. Yeah, we can't actually seal the deal with that, which I find a little concerning. And looks like I can't move this unit, but we can. The minimum, we're going to be able to take out the unit. Now, this is unfortunate, but we're going to be able to, like, we are able to sort of have our revenge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to position these guys in my borders and heal. This is just generally going to be how I move my units. Where I can, I'll move them in my own territory to try and get a little bit of an edge as far as healing is concerned. And the good news is we'll have at least a second slinger to kind of keep flinging rocks at Gozen, but we're certainly have our work cut out for us as far as recovering all that damage to the walls. They did a good job of holding. So that's going to be something that I need to focus on in future, I think. But for the time being, definitely can move this unit to a barracks. We will put you to sleep. Not sure what I want to do with them quite yet. Please tell me I've already built the camp. So one thing I got to focus on here, right, are the pastures, camps, groves. Oh, actually, this will help. So that achieves the goal. We're already on our way as far as food is concerned. So it's capturing 3 cities is probably our big focus right now. Still don't have the stone. What do I want to do with you? I don't hate the idea of a garrison, but I kind of like the idea of an Odeon more. I say none of them and just go for the scout. Okay, this is actually pretty good. The Assyrians are now being raided by the barbarians, so that will hopefully... I mean, they're still probably going to bring the swordsmen in, or the warriors in, but at minimum, like, they're going to be tied up with dealing with these guys. And we should be in pretty good shape for dealing... Oh, nope, they're bringing them back. Oh my god! So they're Interesting. Now known as Kashaya the Ambitious. Beltum Remeni the Schemer has tutored Duchess Damictum, improving her wisdom. And Prince Gerglazu and Princess Consort Amata have given birth to a son, Duke Abilsin. Okay. So I can get a free camel archer or a free war elephant. It has to be one or the other. We are a bit short on ranged units, but I'm thinking war elephant's probably where we want to go. Let's start by bringing... So I can't bring a slinger in to deal with Gozan, but we can at least get an early attack on their own slingers. So I figure we probably want to take out their slinger as early as I can. Again, I hate the fact that it seems to take twice as many units for me to take out enemy units as they do. And again, this is just the AI being better at playing the game than me. It's not like there's a... I don't think there's like some, unfairness principle plugged into the game or something like that. But it's a real indicator in terms of where I'm struggling as far as military matters are concerned. Now, I do want some intelligence on where the enemy generals are. Okay, as always, move people to the front. So again, doesn't leave a lot for domestic matters, but now we're going to turn our attention to some of the other concerns. Appoint Chancellor. You have researched the spoked wheel technology, and you have an available candidate on your court with the Zealot, Judge, or Builder archetype. Then you may appoint a Chancellor using the glowing quill pen icon in the top right of the screen. Not a bad choice. It'll also help me with Actually, I think this will bring us into... yes. We're in the black. So, luxuries are special resources, like gems or dyes, that can be traded to other nations, tribes, and families in exchange for an opinion boost. Certain family classes have favorite luxuries that they especially desire. In order to acquire a luxury, you must first build the correct improvement on that resource, and the improvement must be augmented with a specialist. Luxuries can be sent to the desired target with the Manage Luxuries button on the action panel, while a nation, tribe, or family is selected, or in the bottom left of the city screen for cities. You may currently send dyes to the Amorites if you so desire, or you may wait and send this luxury somewhere else at your convenience. To send this same type of luxury to multiple targets, you must have multiple sources of it. So far we haven't sent anything else. I'm not crazy about sending dyes to the Amorites, though. That should be sent to the Chaldeans. So we will send... Again, I want to keep people happy where I can, but I want to do it in the right way. Okay, let's deal with... So they really want me to build this Shrine of Ishtar. Again, I'm not opposed to the extra growth. I'm just opposed to the amount of stone. Oh, hang on. We can build a theater. So we'll get that started right away. I'm not opposed to this idea of building this mine because we're still short. But again, let's just make sure that that's the best thing we can be doing with our time. I also want to get some lumber yards down. Okay. So I'm interested in what this guy does. Interesting. Okay, that's pretty frightening. As our treasuries fill with the finest luxuries, the Chaldean family has come to demand a cut of the wealth. They desire more of our collected dyes, or they will make our job at governing much more difficult. Well, we wanted them to get that anyway. You can use your Chancellor to help you manage your realm with special missions. Just select the portrait of your Chancellor in the top right, and you will see their available actions in the panel on the top left side of the screen. A Chancellor can give family gifts to improve relations with powerful families, lower discontent with Pacify City, or even imprison troublesome characters. Now, the problem that I have here is that I just don't have the resources to give up for these sorts of things. So I'm not going to take advantage of the Chancellor. This is generally true, by the way. I tend to find that I'm a little too occupied with other things to be able to make the most of it. But we'll see what we can do. So this is a bit of a tricky one for me, just because I have, like, as you can see, I have a number of different units in the area, all sort of raring to go. Okay, so this isn't quite enough to seal the deal, so we'll... This is not smart. What I want to do is move them to a position where they can attack. There we go. I'm going to avoid the temptation to move them in early, and I'm going to heal them up. Now, I would like to start adding some generals at some point, but that is the difference between whether or not I can do an attack or not. So in this case, we will go without. Okay. Now we can start thinking about our next move. So gems, the Chaldeans can get gems again if I'm so inclined. That will cost me an action. You know what? Why not? It's another family in my pocket. 5 orders. Well, let's see what my workers can do. Again, I don't hate the idea of building an Odeon, but maybe there are other things I could be doing right now. I'm particularly interested in lumber yards. Am I missing something? Oh right, we don't have the iron. Well, I feel like that's one that maybe we can pay up for. And yeah, after all, I think building some more iron mines would be a good idea. Now I'm going to reorganize my forces a little bit. Ooh, I do not want those to run away. We've completed the ambition to produce 1,000 food. That's 10 legitimacy for me. Queen Dowager Amitis, our ambassador, has died in office, so I will need to reassign a new one. That is going to cost me orders, though. And Ulumbarash has converted to Babylonian paganism. Philosophy studies. Now that Duchess Dankitum has completed her study of philosophy, how shall she contribute to the court? Now just as a reminder, this is someone who's third in line for succession, so less likely to be a... less likely to be somebody who is running things. I actually don't mind the idea of a judge. I don't hate this option. Chance discovery. Riders approach unexpectedly from the lands of the Numidians. Their leader, Heimsal, is breathless and flush with excitement. Recent rains caused a mudslide that revealed a cave entrance in our territory. Some of my people ventured inside to explore it and found this. He hands you a bone scroll case, its seal still intact. Given your inquisitive nature, my first thought was to bring it here to see if you could tell us what wisdom it might contain. You can barely conceal your excitement. How will you respond? So we will translate it at once, but keep the findings to ourselves, refusing to share the fruits of the discovery with the Numidians, or translate the scroll and share the wisdom. Yeah, I don't see any reason... Ah, I see what it is. Okay, so we can get a random technology, or we can get a science bonus. I'm definitely okay continuing to build relations with the Numidians. So translate the scroll and share the wisdom. And sure, we'll choose a new ambassador. Wait, we already did. Never mind. Okay, now it looks like we have some options here, so I'll take the free chariot. I tend to take... It may actually be a defect in terms of how I play this game, that I'm always taking the freebies, but... Okay, so what I want to do here is I do want to try and take advantage of zone of control. Or actually, does this unit even... maybe they don't have zone of control. That might explain a lot, actually. Either way, let's keep throwing rocks at Gozen. Now, another thing that I want to be doing where I can is trying to position my units in such a way that they don't, like... Ideally, I'm going to be protecting some of my my ranged units from the worst that the Assyrians are going to be throwing at me. Again, this is going to take a lot of effort to wear down, it looks like. And I'm not crazy about this, but I am actually going to charge these guys in on the slingers. Okay, so we've got 4 orders to work with now. Oh, and I've got my free elephants. Okay, well... I feel like Kurzaglazu's got to go on the elephant. So yeah, we don't even get to do anything with our workers this time. It's a shame, but it's what I got, right? So it says 9 years for the... You are now known as Kashaya the Able. You have completed the legacy of King Nebuchadnezzar the Wise. Control 8 pastures, camps, groves, or nets. Assyria is now at peace with the Numidians. Oligarch Sin Mubalat of Eridu has died. Oligarch Emil Marduk the Romantic is now the head of the Chaldean family. Duchess Belisunu has reflected on her recent experience and absorbed many important lessons. And Prince Kurzaglazu Galzu the Younger and Princess Consort Amara have given birth to Duke Ereba. Now, I should also be thinking about marriage for some people, but let's take a quick second. I'm really tempted for the composite bow, because like the other thing is that we have a better chance of getting lots of wood. Actually, yeah, as much as I want labor force, I'm going to go for composite bow, because that's going to help me with my ranged units. We're nowhere near getting our ambition to capture 3 cities from Assyria. So, anyways, first things first, let's continue to beat up the... Slinger. Let's also continue to throw rocks at Gozen. But I also want to deal with the bad guys. Now this would do the most damage to them, but I'm not crazy about spending all those resources to move them around, so we'll leave it there. Move the elephant in. The elephant's probably better suited to taking down those walls. And there's a chariot, so again we give up movement, but this would be good for a ranged unit. Okay, I'm inclined towards another miner here, to be completely honest. Because we're just almost out of our deficit. But we'll also queue up a treasury, I think, as much as it pains me to do so. Okay, for Dilbat, we can build a trapper, or we can... we got the treasury, so... As much as I want to be investing in my military, let's go for a trapper here. Lumber trade. An emissary from Persia stands before us. Our artisans have grown fond of the quality of your lumber. We seek peace in order to ensure that our trade with your nation grows and prospers. So we could say, agree to sign the proposed treaty. Please accept a gift of lumber to celebrate peace, or politely decline. No, I'll take peace, but I'm not going to pay for the privilege. Okay. So it looks like I've got some options about... I've got 8 orders... sort of a free movement, and the Persians left this city site open. So I'm gonna snag that. Let's figure out what I'm gonna do. So again, we kind of need mines everywhere, so it pains me to use workers this way, but it's worth it here. Don't have the stone for the garrison. I do have it for the Odeon, but is that the best use? No, I think a mine is probably the better use right here. A little bit harder to tell. Well, no, this is good for the pastures, so I actually think this is the right place for the shrine. And we're out of orders, so... But things are definitely looking up after this turn. There's probably going to be at least 1 or 2 units that spawn next turn to sort of make me sad. But I think even though we've gotten some losses in the war with Assyria, I think we should feel a lot more confident about our position against Gozan. And of course, once we take Gozan, that's going to give us an opportunity to heal everybody up. Okay, so they opted to heal. They've got a slinger over there. And Duratha is under threat from the Numidians, but we do have a unit in place. So overall looking good. I think I will build the Shrine of Ishtar right now, just because, again, that is something that's actually kind of helpful for me there. Let's continue to beat up the slinger. So, and then we'll also start... All right. Now, if I charge the elephant in like this, yeah, that's not going to help. Nope, but we do get to clean him up that way. All right. That's more like it. And I can actually do a little bit extra with the spear. Okay, so that should be it. Military matters. We've got 10 left over. So this is one nice thing about once you are in the enemy territory, it's a little bit more manageable, it feels, just in terms of orders. So I think we're going to put you to sleep there till we can build a settler. And I really have nothing I can do with my workers, huh? That is definitely a change from the old days. I guess I'll just have to accept it. Well, no, actually, in that case, what we do is we start, we start doing all the other stuff that we wanted to do. Okay, first of all, does everybody have husbands and wives? Who do we want to be on good terms with? So I think the Amorites probably we should try and improve relations with. Moving on. I should actually also probably try and get on good terms with... so that always costs me money, but it's worth it in this case. My ambassador... Who do I have better relations with for a trade mission? Carthage, okay. And then... could be in better relations with... Actually, yeah, sorry. They're my chancellor and the head of the religion. That's a little awkward. Oh, we don't have the cash for it. Okay, yeah, then that's fine. Aha. So a little healing and goes in. So again, I want to take advantage of this raid right now, because that's meaning basically the effort that the Assyrians are putting in is not towards my forces. News arrives from Persia that King Cyrus the Strong of Persia is dead. A new ruler, King Darius the New of Persia, has taken the throne. Their opinion of you is now cautious. Prince Kurigalzu the Younger is feeling ill, lightheaded, and weak, and Iltani the Scientist is converted to Babylonian paganism. I'll definitely take the Akkadian Archer. All right, let's get sieging. Let's change that around just a little bit. So, kind of throwing everyone in it at this point. So, let's give you... Tough is tempting. Yeah, we'll make them tough. We'll also add a general. That's definitely going to work. And we're already out of orders. Shocking. Okay. The honor of Persia. With the death of King Cyrus the Strong of Persia, rule of Persia has passed to King Darius the New of Persia. A new ruler has asked that the statue of the deceased King Cyrus the Strong of Persia be erected in Eridu, claiming that Cyrus was particularly fond of the city. The Chaldean family are outraged, pointing out that it is highly unusual for a Persian ruler to have a statue in Babylonia. Will you push through the request to endear yourself to King Darius the New of Persia, or is he asking too much? So that would come at the cost of reputation with the Chaldeans. Persia counts as weaker, so let's say Darius has no say in what gets built. I'm a little cautious about that choice, but... Okay, apparently all my workers are still occupied, so in this case I'm actually going to sneak in a general. Let's go for... You know what? I don't like that they're lower attack, but I do like the counter attack. This is my chance to just sneak in a bunch of generals. So the thing to keep in mind, right, is taking a look at these forces, we're going to have to deal with all of this. Like, this is not a free lunch. Assyria has begun construction of the Great Ziggurat. Let's see if we can take that from them before it comes up. How you doing, Algrins? We've got an event from the Influence mission. Returning to your bedchambers, you are surprised to find Oligarch Kara Hardash of Dilbat there. As he walks towards you, you notice that his face is flushed, and a nearly empty pitcher of wine sits on the table. Come join me, Kara Hardash takes your hand, looks deeply into your eyes, and moves to kiss you. I know you want me as an ally. This is the price. Now, what's really funny here is that when I'm playing a male ruler, I'm like, oh yeah, it's good to be the king. And like, as a female ruler, I'm like, screw you, off with his head. So I accept your offer. No, I will not defile my marriage. Now that's going to have pretty big consequences as far as the relations are concerned. Like, vengeful from the head of a family, or guards throw them in prison. Honestly, yeah. So yeah, needless to say, things have been better with the Amorites. A marriage offer. A delegation from Egypt arrives with a marriage proposal for your daughter, Duchess Dunkitum. We should consider it carefully. Interesting. So we've got Chamos the Witty, scholar, 4 wisdom, 1 charisma, extra science for the dowry, or the bisexual, super wise, not very charismatic, or courageous. You'd imagine that bisexual would give you bonuses to both of those. I don't mean that, by the way, just in case anybody takes that the wrong way. This is a tough call, so I don't really need the orders. Another scholar is not bad. Alternatively, I can try and build bridges with the family. No, we'll forge bonds with the Egyptians. Now, I would have preferred to focus on lumber yards here because we are going to need the help as far as wood's concerned. But I was thinking courageous and charismatic to be bisexual. It's one of those ones where because it's flattering, you know, it doesn't feel like it's bad to say, but on the other hand, you know, I sometimes I don't know how that stuff comes across. It's trying to be light, but all right. City captured. You have taken Gozan from the Assyrians. While they are no longer control the city, it will take some time for the people to accept you as their new ruler. Keep a unit stationed in the city for a few years, and the people will soon realize that there's a new ruler in town. Okay, so like I said, this is going to take some effort. We're not going to be able to heal everyone. There are some units, I think, who... actually, the one thing we can do is fortify everyone. Well, not everyone, but... yeah, so 3 years for a capture. Again, that's a chance for Assyria to be to rebuild its... that's time for them to sort of rebuild their forces. Like, they're going to take out this unit this turn, and I've got not full strength units to... okay, so we've got two slingers and 2 warriors. Sorry, 3 warriors when all is said and done. Okay. Well, if I want more stone, I can dig it up here. Game doesn't necessarily have any recommendations for me right now other than an iron mine. I don't really want to build a mine here, though. Range is tempting. Although I guess there's no adjacency bonuses. I think I am going to build a range. It's tempting to just run in and, like, go to town on these guys, but that's kind of a death sentence for this unit, so I think we're just going to join the bulk of my units here. Wow. Definitely overweight on orders right now. Okay, we've got more gems. What I really should be looking for is lavender and salt right now. Let's try and improve things with the head of Babylonian paganism. So again, that costs money. So let's see what happens. So I'm expecting the slingers at minimum will move to these hilled areas. The health of King Consort Bardiya has taken a serious turn for the worse, and he's now severely ill. Prince Kurigalzu the Younger has recovered from his malaise and is no longer ill, and Oligarch Melolatum is now head of the Amorite family. Their opinion of me has gone from upset to cautious. All right. Well, I'm happy for the guy who tried to, quote-unquote, seduce me for his family's influence is Done. Okay. Our ambassador Amata has completed her mission to establish a trade network with Carthage. The Carthaginians are willing to trade, but their terms are not generous. So if we give up stone, we get things that we don't really need. We'd prefer not to trade. I always go for the freebies, so we are sort of falling behind technologically, but I think it's worth it. So I'm probably going to regret this. There is a side of me that says there's a really good opportunity here to take out a warrior. So let's see if it works. So again, there's a retaliation that can happen, but I don't think they're going to be able to do enough damage to sort of to make it really stick. That's not entirely true, actually. The combination of the slinger and warriors might be a problem. Okay, so it's all military units. I am going to move the archers in for sure. Well, let's see the consequences. I guess part of the question is how badly do they want Gozen back? No, they're going for it. Oh my god. That one stings the most because I really did need the extra range. Okay, you've successfully exerted your influence upon Chancellor Ninsunu the Younger. My husband has died. Prince Kurgazlu the Younger still feels fear, as does any sane man, but he never lets it stop him. He's gained courage. And Kara Hardash of Dilbat has died. King Consort Bardaya has died. Babylonia mourns and lays to rest your beloved husband. So I'm currently in mourning. Kashaya is you and the governor of Babylon. I'm slightly inclined to, as much as I would love to get to 10 wisdom. Oh, actually, that's so hard because that's... I think I gotta move the discipline back up. Judaism founded. One of your scribes has returned from Tadru in Egypt, excitedly talking about the practices of Judaism. She fills the court with stories of a god who gifts his followers with words written on stone, and an ancient line of kings hailing back to your own ancestors. Members of your court seem impressed and curious. Will you support the new religion? This is of no concern to Babylonia. Condolences. News of your recent loss reaches beyond our borders. As a result, an emissary arrives from Persia with a gift from King Darius the New of Persia. He describes it as a simple gesture to show our condolences. But is anything in this world a simple gesture? Your ambassador, Amata, suspects that this goodwill is a ruse to earn your gratitude, easing tensions. Please send King Darius the New of Persia my eternal gratitude, and my princess consort, Amata, or you cannot buy... I'm not crazy about the fact that my my ambassador is going to be unhappy with me, but I definitely would prefer better relations with I definitely prefer better relations with Persia, so... Dead of night, the warden of Babylon's jail comes before the court with urgent news. In the still of night, an assassin slipped into the cell of Kara Hardash of Dilbat and cut his throat. The head was removed and the body defiled. Clearly, Kara Hardash had many enemies. Unfortunate end for an unfortunate soul. Yeah, that's a pretty costly... I was going to say, that's a pretty costly seduction technique, it turns out. Still... don't really feel that much sympathy for him. Okay, so it seems to me we're kind of already committed to dealing with these slingers. Now, I got a couple things that I can do to angle things to my advantage. So we'll definitely force march in this case, because I get extra damage. Doesn't feel like it did that much damage. Okay, neither of this is really all that significant. Oh, but it's what I need. Your chariot has just killed an enemy unit, but because it has the rout ability, it can keep attacking. Units that can rout will move into an enemy's tile upon destroying them, allowing them to attack again on this turn, as long as there is another enemy unit adjacent to their own new location. Generally, only mounted melee units like horsemen and chariots can perform a rout. If well placed, this can permit units like your chariot to chain together multiple kills in a single turn. This is a really strong ability if you can get a handle on it. So you can notice here, right, I'm just shy of being able to wipe this thing out. I really, really want to find a way of making this work. I'm actually willing to pay up for the 4... Oh, apparently I can't. Well, it's going to be expensive, but... I figure the ability to wipe out the main ranged forces just before we're about to begin the next siege, that's a pretty good... Like, I think that's a price I'm willing to pay, so... Okay, Dilbat, we've got a worker for you already. A miner would not be a bad idea. Or we can start investing in our military again. Let's start with a miner. More importantly, let's see what the bad guys have planned for us. So normally they'll make a move like this unless they think they can kill it. Yep. Still, that's not... It's not as bad as it looks. Because they did just set themselves up for a big hit with my spearmen. So I'm now known as Kashaya the Just. Egypt is converted to Judaism. Okay, let's get back on track with our technology plan. So it's recommending sovereignty here. I can get that in 2 years or 1 year for the labor force. Constitution will hit me on training, but I'll get a bonus for science. Axemen are a stronger melee unit, which I mean, let's face it, I'm doing a lot of war right now. No, I think we'll go for the game's recommendation. It's time to choose your next ambition. What shall be the future direction of Babylonia? Till 10 military units with a leader as general. Well, I definitely am not having a leader as a general. Discover scholarship and vaulting. Or control 2 elder doctors. I have no idea how I'd even get doctors, so let's go for scholarship and vaulting. And give your newest city Gozan to one of your families. So I kind of have to go for the Amorites no matter what. As it is, this is not a bad choice for the Amorites anyway, so... Okay, so let's focus on military matters first. So here we just give them a poke. Now the real key here is going to be to try and chain up those attacks like I did before. So Bernaburish is General of the Warrior. Make them a ranger. Oh, glorious. Shuma is the general of the chariot. So I don't think we're going to be able to kill that guy, but we'll at least be able to do some serious damage. So I gotta get the healing in where I can, but... So yeah, again, would have been wonderful to be able to deliver the coup de grace. I mean, maybe we'll get lucky with a crit or something, but yeah, they're definitely not going to be able to sustain that. So I mean, at this point, I mean, Resin is definitely a viable target. Okay. Put you back to sleep. And I feel like... Well, let's do the repairs first. There's a lot of things I want to do with this city, but I gotta think about this. Okay, now I do want to build a settler at some point because we have this city site which is kind of going idle. The question is, should I do it in this region with 9.2 growth, or do I focus on something else? I'll go for the settler here just because there's not a big loss. At some point I'll build like walls, I'll set up archers and whatnot, but I think there's a little more work that I need to do here before it becomes a big production center. Now, I got my shrine down. So maybe the answer here is I start distributing my workers a little bit more evenly. Speaking of. Okay, so the Shrine of Ereshkigal. Well, we don't really have any nearby mountains or volcanoes, so that makes that a little bit less of an attractive location for that particular upgrade. But I do see an advantage to the quarry. In fact, I'm wondering why they're not recommending the shrine here. Oh, we've already got a worker here. All right. Yeah, there's not much else for us to do. I want to try and build up my training again a little bit, so... Egypt declares war on Persia. Prince Kuriglazu the Younger still feels fear, as does any sane man, but he never lets it stop him. He's gained a courage. General Shuma of Babylon, General of the Chariot, has died in the field, and Duke Abel Sin is old enough to be tutored by courtiers. Harsa calls for aid. A mysterious envoy hands you a scroll and slips away into the night before you can make your reply. The message is from King Darius the New of Persia. Time and circumstance have strained our friendship over these past few years, but there is still hope for our reconciliation. Our people suffer greatly at the hands of Egypt. Come to our aid, and our shattered alliance shall be reforged in the fires of battle. Egypt is similar. Persia is similar. Carthage is stronger. Arrange a truce between Persia and Egypt. Time passes quickly. Duke Abel Sin is growing up fast and eager to learn. Abel Sin is second in line. Let's go for another tactician. Okay. I do want to begin the fight for Resin pretty much as soon as I possibly can. Okay, so there's a few things that I'm going to do here, I think. Where I can, I'm going to move ranged units in to kind of begin the siege. My elephants aren't going to get to where they need to go right away, so at the very least I'll heal them up. So part of this is just going to be a weird dance in terms of getting, like getting units into places where they can heal, or get them into the fight. I'm mildly tempted to move this unit aggressively on Acer just so I don't have something that comes after the chariot. We'll pull this guy back, but I'm partial to that that move right now. Okay, I think that's it for my military units. We've got 2 actions left. Sorry, breaking news. Okay, nothing that requires immediate attention. So I do want to move the archer where I can. We've got our apprentice poet done, so we've got 3 citizens I can work with. God, there's a lot that we can do here. Oop. I mean, I don't hate that choice. It's 1 year. Let's go for officer and acolyte. Kind of want one of each for the... And I particularly want to focus on officers where I can. Oh man, I definitely needed to... I could have had that settler done in seconds if I built it in Babylon. That's a shame. Okay. Gozen. Did I guess that means that I built the worker? No, that was repair damage. But apparently there's still damage to repair. Larsa, we finished a treasury. I think a miner probably makes the most... Well, does it? Officer might make a little more sense if I want to be training military units. Okay. So I've got 2 workers unaccounted for, and... So yeah, you know what? I am going to build the quarry beside the mountain. I don't care what the game says is best. Probably going to build a shrine there too, to be honest, but... Zoroastrianism founded in Comus. Okay, I don't exactly need the civics boost, but I'm taking it because it only takes a year. I'm trying to figure out if it's smarter. Oh, you know what? Oh, we're so close. You know what? That probably isn't the right... If we don't take the city, that's not the smartest choice to make. I should be focusing on healing. Okay. Should have seen if I could upgrade. Okay, doesn't make a difference. Oh, it's okay. So I get it. I need to take out the worker before it counts. Fair enough. Man, I guess the question now is, do I still keep flogging away at ass. I think I am, actually. So I might be signing this guy up for a world of pain, but we'll keep you in place, keep you in place. Zoroastrianism founded. A merchant recently returned from Persia describes the unusual practices of the people of Comus. Following the teachings of the prophet Zoroaster, they have started making sacrifices to a god called Ahura Mazda. Tales of sacred fires, animal sacrifices, and a cosmic struggle between gods are soon spreading around the court. Will you support this new religion? No! The time has come. We can either seize control of the court and adopt tyranny, or we can allow for the creation of a national constitution. So if we go for tyranny, we get 20 extra military or training for cities, and then plus 8 per year for 8 wealth per year per military unit in my own territory. Which, again, given the fact that I am going to be working, like one of the things I've been trying to work on is to improve my my approach to military. That can be a pretty large windfall. But I do tend to go for Constitution, not least of which because of the extra science per year on urban specialists. But it does mean that I need to be putting a little bit more into my urban specialists. So in this case, society will be bound by rules. And we've got 8 orders left. Lots to do. So let's get another quarry down. I pretty much have... I honestly cannot think of a time when I would say I have enough stone. So with that in mind... Okay, no more damage to repair. You can go for a stone cutter or a miner. I think probably stone makes the most sense here. Well, okay, technically walls and archers and all of that, but one step at a time. Oh, actually, I should also be building a worker. We'll worry about that later. Okay, the Shrine of Ishtar. Now, there are some bonuses that we get. So just adjacent pastures. So we've already got what we can get from that. So the other thing I want to keep in mind is sort of the distribution of my different workers. So we've got, you know, a worker here. We don't have a worker here yet. We've got 2 sort of in the capital. One here, and then eventually we're going to need one up in the city site. So I'm not opposed to having 2 in Babylonia, but I should be thinking, though, about what specifically am I building towards. It's weird to build a mine here, but it's actually, I mean, given the hills and given the fact that I still kind of need... Well, the other thing I need are urban improvements. But no, honestly, a mine's not a bad idea here. Should have been paying attention to who I can tutor, so we're going to go for extra wisdom. I pretty much always do that. And... no, we don't have what we need for our trade mission. I feel like I should be working on these lumber yards again. So I'm going to start with this little triangle here. I don't know how close I want to go to the city center, because one thing I tend to notice is I underdo urban improvements just because I've crowded it out with rural improvements. We'll see, though. Grieving Queen Kashaya the Just is at an end. She is no longer mourning. Oligarch Nadintu of Babylon has died. Oligarch Zakiti the Drunk is now head of the Kassite family. And Ulimborash of Babylon has died. Okay. So game's recommending Axeman here. Now again, that is going to be an improvement for my... What is it? That's going to be an improvement for my... warriors. We are starting to get a bit better on my iron as well, and it only takes a year. I guess the other thing I want to keep in mind, though, are that I'm looking for scholarship in vaulting. So what's the most direct path to those? So scholarship, we would need the phalanx. To get the phalanx, we would need labor force. So we're actually quite a ways off, and our character doesn't live forever. So I think we need to start making up some of the... We just need to start filling in some of the gaps. Oh yeah, there we go. We're age 60. I don't think we're going to finish this ambition in time, but we'll do our best. Okay, as always, we focus on achieving goals. Troops ransack Resin. On entering Resin, our invading forces ransack the city and devastate its surroundings. Should we allow such brutal behavior? Let the troops take their spoils. They've earned it. 1 fewer citizens, 2 improvements destroyed, extra money. Let their general, Kurglazu, join them in gathering loot. So Assyria will be mad at us, but we get some extra legitimacy or stop this atrocity. We shall preserve the city. Where's sweet little old lady? Sweet little old lady who wants a new husband. Let's improve relations with the Amorites. All right. So, I mean, the next step is obviously to go move on Assyria. They don't seem to have much in the way of defenses. I'm actually going to... So this isn't the smartest thing to do with a scout. They can definitely get beaten up, but... all right. Now's probably the time for me to start thinking a little bit about how I'm going to set myself up for defenses and such. So yeah, let's start by building an archer. We probably need woodcutters more than anything. The mongrel. One day on the training grounds, Duke Abil Sin notices a lame mongrel begging for scraps. He takes the creature into his care and nurses him back to health. From that point forward, the creature never leaves Abil Sin's side. The dog possesses a complete devotion to Abil Sin, who turns to you for guidance on how to best raise the pup. What training do you suggest? So you should teach the dog affection and gentleness. Now that would mean I have a compassionate general. Use a strict system of rewards and punishments, or beat and torment the creature for loyalty. Let's go strict system of rewards and punishments. I gotta get my gems. Okay. Let's build those lumber mills. I'm focusing on my borders before anything else. This is so reckless to do this with this warrior, but... I'm wondering if I should just keep this... Oh no, hang on, this is what we do with the archer. I probably do need them on the front, but having archers getting trained like this is kind of hard to pass up. Right, that's the last unit that I can move, so... So we've got some leftover orders. It seems to me that we can send our ambassador out to do another trade mission. Like I said, reckless to do, because these guys are going to be able to clobber me. Queen Kashaya the Just is severely ill, suffering from high fever and constant shaking, leaving her barely able to walk. Palatum the carpenter has died, and Duke Araba is now old enough to be tutored by courtiers. A new marriage offer from the Amorites has arrived for you, Queen Kashaya the Just. So we can go for Kashtalish the Wanton or Shuma the Tactician. Shuma the Tactician. And again, steel is very tempting. It's recommending machinery to me, but all of this is going to be built with the goal of scholarship and vaulting in mind. So scholarship requires... Well, actually, it turns out this doesn't really get me closer one way or the other. So in this case, I should go for the tech that takes a shorter period of time to develop. And in that case, I actually think steel is not a bad choice. Against my better judgment, I am going to build the pasture, although I should be focusing on slightly more pressing matters. I'm going to move the elephants in right away. I'm also going to chase down those slingers. Oh man, it's so tempting to burn down that shrine. I'm going to force march it just so I can really let them know I mean business. Now we do need to have somebody in place for the capture. Oh wow, we just used up everything. Okay, that's fine. We got what we wanted done. I don't think this militia is going to trouble us too much. I'll attack if I have nothing else to do. Fire in the market! A man in the Dur Athra market has been arrested for inciting the public. His crime? After building a large blaze, he proceeded to recite from his holy teachings, the Yasna. This is not the first incident of this kind. We grow intrigued by these followers of Zoroaster. So we can release him and permit Zoroastrianism. We can release him but forbid Zoroastrianism, or this is not worth my time. Let's forbid Zoroastrianism. Oh, we get militia. I don't actually need the militia. Say this is not worth my time. And Babylonia is in need of a decision regarding its labor force. Some in the court support a system of slavery, while others still wish to keep freedom or virtue. By the way, my apologies for not directly responding to a lot of chat right now. I'm very focused. I'm in the zone, and I apologize. Okay, I usually always go for freedom, but let's just see the relative benefits. So extra unhappiness, which I always struggle with. Mines and quarries get a big bonus. The bonus, honestly, on the quarries is the most tempting. But if I keep doing specialists, we get money, and the Amorites are happier with me. So our subjects will be free. Treasures of Resin. Following the taking of Resin, you discover a large quantity of hidden art, temple refinements, luxury textiles, and more. So we could sell it all, lavish our capital Babylon with refinements, or use the Horde to help restore the city. Lavish our capital. Time passes quickly. Duke Araba is growing up fast and eager to learn. How would you like to educate them? We could go for another philosopher, I suppose. Commerce wouldn't be bad either, but no. Let's go philosophy, particularly because I need your art, and so not typing much myself. What are you working on art-wise, Kree? You've accepted a marriage proposal from a member of your family. Marriages are useful diplomatic tools for forming bonds with other families, tribes, and nations. They also allow your family to continue their line with legitimate heirs who will be eligible to take over once your current ruler is gone. If you die without an heir, the game will end. And nomads. A young man claiming to be a prophet seeks permission to build a permanent home for his people, nomads. They have wandered the wilderness for generations and now seek to establish a spiritual homeland. We've heard fascinating tales of these chosen people and their god. So we could let them build a temple here. bonus for Judaism, or if they stay, they must worship as we do. Yeah, so I mean, really here, let's just keep the pressure on Acer. Emotes for your game group got 2 out of 4 done. Well done. I'm gonna ask. Oh man, that was a really tough hit. Your doctors and diviners have warned you that the end is near. Time to get your affairs in order. Persia has converted to Zoroastrianism. Their opinion of you has gone from friendly to pleased. The tutor mission of Beltram Remeni the Schemer has led to an event, and Prince Kuriglazu Galzu the Younger and Princess Consort Amata have given birth to a son, Duke Nebuchadnezzar II. I think I've asked this before, but is anybody here familiar with Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, the second game made by Firaxis? Beltum Remeni, the schemer, tutor of Abel Sin, comes to you with a dismaying story about her student. It seems that the child has shown an unhealthy interest in poisons, asking how to mask their presence in food. He has recently been spotted lurking in the palace kitchens. Ooh. I will take Abel Sin under my wing. Agree with Beltum Remni and keep an eye. Become suspicious. Should let children be children and convince Abel Sin to find other interests. I mean, it doesn't really matter because we die this turn anyway, but... yeah, you know, it's a thing that exists and not much else. Well, it's one of them boomer games with, like, lots of pixels and, you know, a huge manual that nobody reads. No, I think we were talking about this before, that there was... so there's actually some things about what I think makes Alpha Centauri work really well that also makes Old World work very well. But it also got an RPG. So it's like GURPS or something like that. But it's very intrigued by that. And every once in a while I like checking to see if anybody else has played the underlying game. We'll take him under our wing. Okay, I think Phalanx is on its way. Yes, because that will lead to scholarships. So choose city family. All right, so oh, I still need to pick. I'm gonna undo the last. Huh. Leveraging luxuries. Persia contacts you with an intriguing proposal. If you'd be willing to part with some of your luxuries, they'd happily round out your court with either a talented trader or minister. What say you? I'm going to keep my luxuries for the time being. Okay, so we can kind of assign anyone here. The question is what's available? So I feel like this would not be a bad Amorite city, just to give me the option for some of the other stuff. Okay, let's get to work. Kurigalzu is your son and general of the War Elephant. Now, big question here. So they can knock 4 points off of me. Yeah, there's nowhere to run for this guy either. So I'm gonna risk the attack. The logic behind this is so they probably won't heal. Oh, you know what? This guy's probably gonna run up and ruin my day. is something we can do to fix that. Or maybe there isn't. Nope. Okay, well, we keep the pressure up on Acer then. Maybe what I do, though, is I start moving my chariots in for backup. Okay. It would have been nice to take that city as my final act as queen. Hang on. Nope, can't move. Irrepressible 32 Tau. It really has been a month. I'm definitely feeling like it shouldn't be, but it is. Thank you very much for your steadfast subscription. I'm glad that I'm carrying this well enough for you to keep renewing it. But no, as always, very, very glad to see. Very, very glad to see you, and of course, very, very glad to see your money. No. I think I need to put down the amphitheater before. I mean, again, it would be beautiful to do more quarries, but I need to keep working on my urban improvements. I hope you are well. Oh, Algrins. Now, I certainly can't pretend that I haven't seen you inside a chat, but you'll have all the new money. Can't have that old lady on it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Everybody's going to try and get rid of their queen money. But no, thank you very much, Algrins, again. Certainly, I'm very, very happy to have you around, just simply because I know you are a friend of Kree's. But it's always a delight to have somebody inside the chat to bounce ideas off of. All right, let's get some governors in. In fact, that might be something I want to focus on for the next little while. Okay, Larsa, it's tempting to go for the master officer, to be honest, because we've already got our worker. Well, no, let's get the infrastructure down, so we'll build the walls. Okay, I don't think I'm going to do anything with the spearmen right now. Okay, yeah, so let's do a quick tour of the cities, and let's just make sure that we've got governors where we can have governors. Okay, fair enough. Then that does mean that I'm going to do something with my spear unit. This is so dumb that I'm doing this, but... Following ambitions are now legacies. Capture 3 cities and discover scholarship and vaulting. We've got 20 years for both. Believe it or not, I watch more than I chat. I usually when you're catching up on work, so Grins has to carry it. Well, again, like, I mean, especially for, like, this is not how I actually think about Twitch, but there is something kind of funny about the way that a lot of this works, right? So if you think about it, like, okay, here's a way that you can think about this, actually. Why does it make sense for a game like Hearthstone or, you know, certain MMOs to have a free-to-play option? And, like, I understand there's the whole idea of, like, well, you know, like, it's a loss leader, so, you know, you get your, sure, there's the freebie, but really you're gonna wind up buying the decks and all of that. But like, let's just say, like, very clearly, and I mean, you've got people who can do the analysis to say there's gonna be a subset of people who will like never spend money on the game. So what purpose do they serve? Like, why not even just put some token amounts? I was looking at RPG Drive-Thru RPG. And like there's a starter set for a game that I'm kind of interested in. I've never played Traveler, but I'd kind of like to. And I think if you want to play like the first or like the starter set or something like that, you spend $1. Yeah, well that's just it, right? Like they're slightly more fun to play against than bots. But like this is the thing, is that by having someone in the by having someone in the game, like having an opponent, having somebody you can play against, that is actually value to the game. And so, like for a multiplayer game, now a single player game, like it's a little harder to sort of say, a complete free ride is beneficial to the game. Maybe there's still that word of mouth thing or something like that, but like for multiplayer games, it definitely makes sense to have like a player base. Now again, you don't want to make the free version so enticing. So you can say the whales spend money so that they can be better. They need somebody to be better against. I'm actually not that, like, I don't have that dim of a view of how the game works. I understand the concept of whales, but I do actually think that, like, I think it's fair to say that you can definitely point out games which have very aggressive monetization strategies that I don't think most people would sort of say this should be the way forward. But I also think that there are some games where you can say, this is legitimately a good way of doing this kind of work, and maybe this is a model we should aspire to improve. So like, for instance, we'll see how it turns out, but like I'm willing to guess that something like Embark Studios Arc Raiders is probably an example of something like that, because Arc Raiders I don't think has a competitive element to it. And it's also very clearly designed with free-to-play in mind. So clearly they want people to spend money on the game. But I don't necessarily think that they're going to be spending money on the game. Like, I don't think they're going to want you to spend money in the game to beat the other players, because it seems to be a little bit more cooperative. But yeah, one way or the other, like, all I'm trying to establish here, right, is like, I'm trying to establish the analogy. It's like, if you think about how Twitch works, right? I do my thing, and I mean, to a certain extent, it's a hobby, but there's clearly people who make a living doing this stuff, right? So it's not like it's not like I'm sort of like, I'm totally fine with a zero return on this. Like, at the minimum, I'd sort of like the extra cost of my internet access, and, ideally maybe my, the value of my time. But obviously nobody owes me that. But, you'd sort of think one thing that people can offer if they're not subscribers to the channel is interaction, because of course being able to have some back and forth, particularly when people say stuff. Olaf, great to see you. I hope you're doing well, my friend. If you think about, especially when people kind of come in and ask some of the econ questions, and particularly when we're playing a game where those concepts relate really closely to the game, like, that gives me more to work with, and I think the streams kind of wind up a bit better, because it's a little bit like when you're teaching a class and a student sort of raises their hand to ask a question. You feel a lot better knowing that there's you feel a lot better sort of knowing you have an idea in terms of where the questions are going, like where the direction of the chat is. So in a sense, right, like one of the best things that you can do to help support a channel is like be there and interact. But the funny thing about it is that the people who chat the most are also the people who tend to sub a lot. So to a certain extent, you have you almost have the people who like give all the things that a streamer wants, and then there's the freeloaders. And like I said, this is not the way I think about Twitch. Like, you know, I'm going to be here. I'm going to do my thing. And I don't think it's particularly helpful. Like, I think it's beneficial to take it seriously, you know, as much as you can. You know, you want to do a game that you'll enjoy or you think you can cover well. And, you know, you want to do your best to at least try and interact with people and you know, do what you think is consistent with a good broadcast. And this sounds basic, but there's a lot of people I've watched where even though they know better, like it'll sometimes be, I'm just going to sit down and play a game and I'm not going to say anything unless people like talk to me. And like, what reason do you have to interact with a broadcaster like that? But I do find it kind of funny, right? Like, again, I don't think I necessarily need to come up with like the list of incentives or benefits that people give, but like chat is definitely something that helps me out to be able to have something to respond to, particularly when we play like Old World or Imperiums or some of these things which do have some historical content, and people can either share what they're interested in, or possibly it's a chance for me to share some things that I find interesting that other people don't necessarily know about. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate the subbing. This is kind of more of a tangent than I really wanted to go on, but if you want that, you'll go watch silent playthrough. Yeah, well, I mean, on YouTube, I think they call them long plays, like of just watching a game being played in silence. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm just not entirely sure that's a Twitch thing. Maybe it is. I mean, again, it's not my job to tell people what to do, but the thing that does bother me is when those people get upset with chat, like particularly when they get upset with chat for not chatting, because like the one person you probably shouldn't be getting upset with are the people who are present. But if you have to express that anger some way, you know, you're presumably just going to, you know, send it through whatever outlet it finds. But anyways, thank you all. That's just my long way of saying thank you for that. And Irrepressible, you are absolutely one of the students I liked having in my lectures. Presumably you were not one of the students, unless you were at UBC in a certain number of years, but in which case that is a weird coincidence, because I don't think I let my students know I streamed on Twitch. But yeah, no, I loved it when people would ask questions, because, you know, I really do. I genuinely do try to do my best to communicate the ideas as clearly as I can. But it's also, you know, especially like if you're doing graduate study of something, you've just lived with it for so long. And so the stuff that you take for granted is very different from the first time you're learning. And it's really important to remember that. All right, Queen Kashaya the Just, governor of Babylon, has died in office. Duchess Akitum has reflected on her recent experiences and absorbed many important lessons. She has gained +1 wisdom. In hard-won negotiations, Queen Consort Amata has secured an offer of famed Persian salt. It will not come cheaply, however. We'll take your salt for training, 40 years. We'll give science for salt, or we don't need... No, I definitely want salt. So we can give that to one of our families. But as our first act... Oh, end of an era. Messengers from the capital bring news of Queen Kashaya the Just's death. All of Babylonia mourns with the royal family. Hail King Galzu, the new and rightful king of Babylonia. The day of your coronation is at hand. Before the ceremony, you take some time to reflect on the responsibilities that come with the throne. It makes you question, what type of ruler do you aspire to be? You should focus on attaining righteousness. I should surround myself with brilliant artists. I should lead a quiet life of philosophical study, or I am already the perfect ruler. Let's go for philosophical study. The warrior monk. Our spies report that their contacts in Carthage and Egypt may be amenable to diplomatic discussions, improving relations with us. Where shall we activate our envoys? So Egypt, similar. Carthage, stronger. Let's improve relations with Carthage then. Sparring partners. In addition to tactical theory and the study of past battles, a large portion of Abil Sin's tutelage consists of sparring and military drills. Abil Sin is consistently the top of his sparring group, save for one other student. No matter how many times they fight, Jemti always stands victorious. Abil Sin is desperate for a new drive to win. What advice do you give? The advice is, oh my god, you're getting beaten by a girl? Surround yourself with those who are better than you, but comes at the cost of courage. Encourage the rivalry. Abil Sin should never back down, or fighting her with real blades should test your mettle. The worst was this economics tax and public finance class where everyone's eyes were completely glazed the whole time. I tried to help as much as I could. It was taught by John Deskins, who knows his stuff and testifies to Congress and whatnot now. But there's only so much you can do with public finance. Some Aria over it. Yeah, no, it totally is Aria now that you mention it. Yeah, I mean, so I will say that I was lucky enough in university that generally I could find a given... there's always like an angle that I could find to make the subject very interesting. So a great example of this would be I did take a course on price index theory. I actually did it with a guy named Irwin Dewart, who is like, if you read the IMF manual on producer price indices, like he's done like half the chapters, it feels like. He had some really nice things to say about my paper, actually, which is good because I really blew it on the midterm. But I think I got this, like, he was nice about it, but I think I got this just absolutely crushing comment on one of the sections, like, proofs are not your strong suit. And I'm like, oh no, I love math, but he's so right. This is garbage. But, yeah, price index theory. So, like, the theory that goes into how you construct things like the consumer price index. Now, obviously today, when everybody's talking about inflation, like, this is my moment. I can now go to the parties, and this is the only time in my life people are going to be asking me about this stuff. But you know, like, that is probably the best analogy that I could give you in terms of, you know, of public finance. And the thing is that, you know, if you don't have that angle, if you don't have that way of accessing your subject, you're going to... You found a chained prices enjoyer. Get you out of this stream. Yeah. I have actually had to calculate several indices, and unfortunately, like, it's a situation where I have to deal with the very practical concerns that come up in some of those in some of those manuals. So, like, you know, I'm a very theory-based guy, right? Like, just give me a Fisher and call it a day. Like, it's the best. But, you know, like, sometimes that's not what people are asking of you. So, you know, I've had to do my Pash and my Lespairs. Actually, what are the... I can mention some elementaries. For some reason, I always keep remembering the Duteau. But yeah, I don't know, like, by and large, I like the Jevons and I like the Fisher, and it's mostly because I'm weird enough to really like geometric means. Like, I just like geometric means. Geo means the meanest of the means. And for those of you who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, so a lot of you will probably remember the average, right? It's also known as the arithmetic mean. There is more than one mean. So you can also get what's called a harmonic mean. And then there's also the geometric mean. And there is actually a theorem that shows that, I believe it goes, you can have the harmonic mean will always be smaller than or equal to the geometric mean, and the geometric mean will always be equal to or less than the arithmetic mean. So of the means, your geometric mean will be the kind of the middle one, the average, the meanest of the means. And And it, the Fisher and the Jevons are based off of G. I'm gonna stop talking about this stuff because nobody cares. But yeah, anyways, needless to say, like it's very clear. Okay, so have you seen the Darren Acemoglu facts? Like the econ version of Chuck Norris facts? Because if you haven't, I mean, it's old, but it's still funny. Yeah, anyway, suffice to say, like, if you are of a certain temperament, you can basically make anything interesting for yourself. But that's the easy case. What you also want to do is try and make it so that other people will find the thing as interesting as you do, and to try and find that thing that really motivates them. Otrembla99, this is the learning, the new learn to play. So I think this is probably like the Able, whatever the first one in that series is. It's interesting stuff, but to be honest, your knowledge of the topics far beyond current reach. Yes. Well, probably most of what I know you can get out of the price index manual, but I don't know if you really want to read 600 pages of price index calculation, particularly because I'm really into producer prices, which is generally not what people are looking for. All right, anyways. I think so the question is, do I go for the real blades or do I go for the rivalry? I don't like the idea of the vengeance. So yeah, real blades. Prince Abelsin becomes wounded and Jametti becomes brave. All right, hero archetype. Your leader, King Kurigazu the New, is the hero archetype. A hero leader gains an additional 50 training per military unit killed, grants a 10% bonus to each melee unit, and as a general can launch an offensive. If I recall correctly, launching an offensive, you hit that ability and then it will give you a bunch of, it basically gives everybody else an extra attack. So this is definitely one of the first times I'm going to have a ruler on the battlefield as opposed to in the capital. She's not a member of the family, so definitely there's problems if she winds up on the throne. Hero characters also have a higher courage, which the leader, as a leader, causes their nation to produce more training. So launch offensive removes the attack cooldown of adjacent units and gives orders for each. So I'll make the best use of my leader based on their archetype. Your heir, Prince Abelsin, approaches one day asking to meet with you in private. Once alone, he pulls out a papyrus scroll and starts excitedly reading a 40-point plan on the best path for Babylonia, especially focusing on the need for proper infrastructure. It is clear that a lot of thought and hard work has gone into this. The warming thought strikes you that perhaps Babylonia will be well looked after when you join your ancestors. Abelsin finishes and watches you with determinedly hopeful eyes. Will you take on this ambition as your own? So we could say peace would certainly help foster trade relations. So we currently have one piece. Tempting. I think we'll double down on our techs. I mean, there's a big worry about this, right? Where if we try to go for the portcullis and chain drive, we're committing ourselves to even more tech ambitions. But we're also spinning out a lot of tech, so... yeah, these technological ideas sound like they have a lot of potential. All right, Queen Kashaya the Just, governor of Babylon, has died in office. Let's put... I'm actually slightly inclined to Iltani, even though there is a price for that. Yeah. Mata is your wife and your ambassador. Let's improve religious matters. Okay, we don't exactly need the training, but this might be useful for another draw. So let's go back to the tech tree, remembering... so now we have scholarship, vaulting, portcullis, and trained... well, okay, well, there's portcullis. Tricky. think I will go for portcullis, even at the expense of the training. Oh, Trembla, you don't get to order me around. If you want to play the game, I highly recommend you go and you buy this game. The number of orders you get per turn in this chat is 0. And the fact that you started off here by demanding to know what difficulty I'm playing on means that you're on a very short leash right now. So, if you'd like to come in, and you'd like to be a good participant, I think we can restart this relationship, we can have a good time, and we can forget the way that you've behaved before. But I can let you right now, if you're going to start barking orders to me right now, you either need to leave or I will gladly drum you out of here. Okay, let's get the tutoring in. I'm still not 100% sure what to do with my... well, sorry, there is one thing I can do with my luxuries, which is finally get some salt to the Amorites. I'm not 100% sure what happens once our trade deal is done, but we'll worry about that later. Yeah, I should still focus on Acer. I know there's going to be a bunch of sort of civilian work that needs to happen, but it's probably better that we wrap this up. Okay, nation of Assyria has been eliminated. Cheering citizens cry out, "Babylonia! Babylonia! Babylonia!" as you parade your triumphant armies throughout the streets of Babylon. I do not know, men of Athens, how my accusers affected you. As for me, I was almost carried away in spite of myself, so persuasively did they speak, and yet hardly anything of what they said is true. Of many lies that they told, one in particular surprised me, namely, that you should be careful not to be deceived by an accomplished speaker like me, that they were not ashamed to be immediately proved wrong by the facts when I show myself not to be an accomplished speaker at all, that I thought was most shameless on their part, unless indeed they call an accomplished speaker the man who speaks the truth. If they mean that, I would agree that I am an orator, but not after their manner, for indeed, as I say, practically nothing that they said was true. From me you will hear the whole truth, though not by Zeus, gentlemen, expressed in embroidered and stylized phrases like theirs, but things spoken at random and expressed in the first words that come to mind. For I put my trust in the justice of what I say, and let none of you expect anything else. It would not be fitting at my age, as it might be for a young man, to toy with these words, even as I appear before you. One thing I do, and beg of you, gentlemen, is if you hear me making my defense in the same kind of language as I am accustomed to use in the marketplace by the bankers' tables, where many of you have heard me and elsewhere, do not be surprised or create a disturbance on that account. The position is this. This is my first appearance in a law court at the age of 70. I am therefore simply a stranger to the manner of speaking here. Just as if I were really a stranger, you would certainly excuse me if I spoke in a dialect and manner in which I had been brought up. So too my present request seems a just one, for you to pay no attention to my manner of speech, be it better or worse, but to concentrate your attention on whether what I say is just or not, for the excellence of a judge lies in this, and that of a speaker lies in the telling of the truth. It is right for me, gentlemen, to defend myself first against the first lying accusations made against me and my first accusers, and then against the later accusations and the later accusers. Then there have been many who have accused me to you for many years now, and none of their accusations are true. These I fear much more than I fear Antyllus and his friends, though they too are formidable. These earlier ones, however, are more so, gentlemen. They got hold of most of you from childhood, persuaded you, and accused me quite falsely, saying that there is a man called Socrates, a wise man, a student of all things in the sky and below the earth, who make the worst argument the stronger. Those who spread that rumor, gentlemen, are my dangerous accusers, for their hearers believe that those who study these things do not even believe in the gods. Moreover, these accusers are numerous, and they have been at it a long time. Also, they spoke to you at an age when you would be most ready to believe them, some of you being children and adolescents, and they won their case by default, as there was no defense. I'm just going to keep this aside here in case I need to do an intermission. All right, cheering citizens crowd, Babylonia, Babylonia, Babylonia. As you parade your triumphant armies through the streets of Babylon, old men and women weep with joy and pride at the sight of their boys marching victorious before them. Children run underfoot. Oh no, the elephants! Joy filling their faces as they climb trees and buildings to glimpse at you and your armored guards. How shall we commemorate the final destruction of Assyria? So we must share the loot with the people and court. Big reduction in discontent as a result. We must learn from our enemies, gain wisdom and science, and we must remember all who died so we could see this day. Nope, we will learn from our enemies. You know, I've never seen Bill and Ted. I hear it's the movie that inspired The Seventh Seal, though. I think they changed it because I guess chess is like bigger in Sweden rather than Twister. Okay, so yeah, we've got Acer. Let's mop up the barbarians. I stupidly spent the 10 turns on the settler, but we'll have it in 4. We'll be able to claim this site. And we're in decent enough shape with our neighbors, but we did also have to give up a lot of units in order to achieve that. So Persia is similar, Egypt similar, Carthage is stronger. So I am eventually going to need to sort of reorient my production towards some military units, I think. But complete aside, but I feel like the Seventh Seal has some of the most memes in pop culture, being a somewhat relatively... Yeah, no, I mean, I suspect probably around the time it became something of a meme, it was a better known film. I suspect that there's probably a time when the Seventh Seal was something you could have actually banked on a few more people having seen now. But you're right, like today I would be very surprised, like unless you wear sunglasses and a beret and go to like NYU or something like that, I'd kind of be surprised if you'd have seen it. Okay, let's go for... So yeah, I mean, the big thing, eventually I'm going to have to deal with the fact that Carthage is stronger. We seem to be pretty strong as far as tech is concerned. But again, if you're particularly on this difficulty, I figure if you're behind on tech as Babylon, you really need to pay attention to the tutorials. So clearly the portcullis, chain drive, vaulting, and scholarship are my big drivers. I think over time, I'm just going to naturally let my cities build. I think just naturally over time, my cities will get more of a military footing. Maybe I can also start angling some of my builders towards more barracks and ranges, because I think I sort of fell behind on doing those improvements. And because we kind of managed to take... We did really manage to bring the fight with Assyria home. It took some effort at the start, but I do think we were able to sort of get an edge. I don't think it would hurt for us to think about where our next invasion's going to be. Now we've got some natural expansion areas here. So one, we've got the settler that's already going to be claiming this site, but we can also clear out the barbarians here. And that's probably going to be leading us to the Egyptian territory. I don't know if it'll tell us the number of cities. Nope. Wow. Okay, no, sorry. I was like, well, no, still 5. So that's 7 total cities. Huh. I was not expecting them to be that large. Okay. So yeah, definitely clearing out the barbarians, but I think probably because Egypt counts as similar and we should be able to build our way to a stronger force, and of course they're available. They're probably a natural next target. And then just in terms of people who hate me, Egypt seems to be something of a natural enemy. So that's going to be, admittedly, that's a long run plan, but I don't think it would hurt to build towards that. But in the meantime, let's... Okay, so we've got our acolyte, we've got an extra citizen available. The rancher will give me orders, which is nice. But maybe I can do better in the city. Actually, I'm slightly more inclined towards the rancher the more I think about it. So we should be repairing before we do anything else. Okay, so they want a range here. I don't hate the choice, but maybe we can do better? Alright. I said I was going to build that shrine previously, so hopefully that isn't a surprise to anyone. I am losing the bonus for sorry, I'm losing the bonus for adjacency for the quarry, but I'll live. And I'm redirecting the scout, so I'd love to have the scout explore elsewhere, but I know in the past I've neglected the city site and I've regretted it. So I'm going to redirect the scout towards exploring the barbarian area, hopefully getting a little bit of a better idea of Egypt. Because Egypt's already had its scouts running all over the place here, so obviously there's more for me to deal with. Just to my left. Yeah, no, I think honestly, let's at least figure out the edges of the map, and then we can get a game plan as far as the war is concerned. I was also thinking that probably the way that I'm going to handle the eastern side, because honestly, it's like the edge of the map. It's not like I'm going to need a lot of units to sort of reinforce this area. Maybe I'll just let this area sort of build its own defenses when the time comes. All right, Zoroastrianism has established legalism theology. Beltum, Remeni the Schemer has died. Prince Abel Sin, your son, is no longer wounded. He doesn't even have a scar. How many cities do you control on average per game? Grutatorum, which, by the way, that is a great name. I am assuming that is a Neil Stephenson reference. Well, I'm assuming combination Neil Stephenson and Marvel property, I think. Is it Defenders of the Galaxy or something like that? I actually don't have a good answer for that question because I've been spending a lot of time in the scenarios lately. I think I've wound up with about 10-ish, sounds about right. But this might be something that you would find a better answer for in the Discord. Another link that may be of interest to you, let me just bring this up, is... There's actually a community member that wrote a guide, and I'll confess I've not read all of it, but I think it's a pretty good reference. Well, I say guide, it's kind of more of a manual. Yeah, you have that? Okay, great. Yeah, so I don't know if that covers your answer there, but that's kind of been my default. But yeah, I would say off the top of my head, I'd say about, I've kind of been running around 10. I'm also going to assume that probably this is also dependent on the size of the map. It's a little bit like Civ, where, you know, if I'm going to be playing on a large world, I'm going to be managing a lot more cities. I'll confess, I was a bit surprised to see that Egypt had 7, but then I've got 7, so it's maybe not that surprising. But I apologize. Like, I hate it when people ask questions on stream and I can't answer them, but I'm still trying to get a little bit of an understanding of the game myself. This one we're actually playing on a more, I think I normally play on the Noble. This one I think is the Able, because I'm just trying to do the learning by playing scenarios that they added in 2 weeks ago, I think. I think so. I don't, sometimes there's stuff that I should know, but I don't, because I haven't used it in practice. But thank you, though. Zoroastrianism established legalism theology. Belton Remeni the Schemer is die. Wait, was that? Nope, that's a different character than who I was thinking. And right, we've got... Okay, the court mourns. Today we grieve the death of Belton Remeni the Schemer, a member of the Babylonian court. Her spirit will be venerated and her deeds will be remembered. The nation mourns. Take another wife? A glorious delegation from Persia arrives in the capital with a marriage proposal. They wish for you to wed Amestris the Loyal, a worthy Persian bride. We should consider it carefully, as it may upset Queen Consort Amata. Are we on good terms? Yeah, no, my wife likes me, so this is a political marriage. Amata will understand and becomes jealous. I do not wish to upset Amata, so I must refuse. Ooh. A group of talented commoners have been brought before the court to be recognized for their achievements. With a small investment, we may offer one person the chance to be raised to the status of nobility. Who shall we choose? So we can get a soldier, we can get a merchant, or we can get experience. I do like the idea of a court merchant just because that'll be boosting up my... So obviously I'm draining my treasury, but that should have a better long-term run. We're relatively young. So let's do the gem trader. A new court merchant, Emeram, has joined the court. His keen attention to economic affairs will help Babylonia prosper. The truth hurts. Oligarch Amel Marduk the Romantic, head of the powerful Chaldean family, would like to know what you think of his new outfit. The truth is you hate it. It is garishly colored and poorly made. However, taking such a blunt approach to one of the more influential people in your realm may not be the most diplomatic option. I always like these options because sometimes you just want a chance to, roleplay a bit. So, I don't really think I want the fall in discipline, particularly on somebody who's commanding my elephants. So, honestly, I dislike it. So, obviously that has a cost with the Chaldeans, and we don't have any more resources we can bribe them with. But we still did the right thing. Alright. Let's go for... I'm going to go for the pasture and the farm first, and then when the time comes, we will start building some more quarries. I don't think we... don't have the opportunity to do another training, but Abel Sin is going to be the one who inherits the throne. Do you have a... Yes, you have a spouse. Okay. So I guess this time I want to be focusing on my workers. So more lumber mills. I actually don't have that much left. So then we'll go for our scouts. So again, the aim here is I want to see what's going on with these barbarians. And at this point, I think I'm in a good spot to tab through everything. Okay, so there is a temptation to do some more woodcutters on this side. The biggest reason for extra woodcutters, other than just, you know, the fact that wood's very helpful, it extends the borders. So I'll at least get one more set of trees to harvest here. And then because it costs 100 wood per pop, or 150 for the Akkadian archer, To me, it seems like a good idea to just try and get the, like really put a heavy investment in terms of that wood so we can just get this withering kind of archer cover as soon as we can, particularly if we're going to be going up against Egypt. Again, I'm not going to try and provoke it as soon as I can. It seems like there's some easy ways for me to expand otherwise. But it's something I want to keep in mind. So, yeah, we will invest in the woodcutter for now. Gozen probably should get a worker at this point. I'm not crazy about spending 9 years for it, though. Well, okay, so the alternative would be I spend 5 years on miners. It's not like I don't need the iron. But the thing is that essentially so if I keep going for the miner, I'm committing myself to 10 years of those improvements, and then I still need to spend 9 years on a worker. So I think I'll just eat the cost here. We do get the option of hurrying production once we grow to a certain size. And of course I can always just drag more, some of my other workers over to the area, but I think this is an investment that makes sense. And we do not need to repair your walls anymore, so we can start thinking about infrastructure. So Trapper is tempting because of the fur. Oh, sorry, I was thinking about that. So I actually want this a little bit more for the culture than the wealth, but wealth is nice too. I did say we were going to be working towards our own. I did say we were going to be working towards building sort of our own defense in this region, but I don't feel an immediate need for that right away. My God, 40 years? Okay, it's because our training's so deplorable. The stonecutters are actually also something I kind of need. I think, though, this is another case where I want to do the early investment in the worker, and then we work our way up. Cliche for... Sorry, Irrepressible, I think I might have missed what you were referring to. Okay, we're still capturing the city. We can mop up the barbarians here. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do with either of these right now. I think probably the answer here is all of the units that are at full health, we should actually start moving back to sort of the main regions. I want to move them in my own territory, so... Okay, we can upgrade them to archers as soon as they get sufficient training. I could also add a general. It would be... this is normally somebody I would consider for an archer general, but the fact that they can counterattack during melee is the deal breaker there. Okay, that's fine. So most of these others... Yeah, there's not a whole lot else for us to do. These ones I'm just keeping in the area because, you know, I don't have as immediate of a use for them, and I'm going to be healing with them next turn anyway. So it took me a... Oh, gotcha, yeah. Took me a while for that turn, but I feel like that was actually a fairly significant one in terms of just changing the direction where we're going. Carthage declares war on Persia. If that disrupts the trade, that's bad for us, but I'm not necessarily opposed to Carthage getting their military worn down a bit. King Dowager Shuma has died, and that was all for that turn. Okay, again, because we're not focusing on military matters right now, we're at this point where I'm going to be focusing on my my worker units again. So one temptation is just to finish the little pyramid of Grudatorum. Thank you very much for the follow. One of the temptations here is to build the mine just to finish the triangle. I think this is reasonably well known at this point, but for those of you maybe who didn't play Mohawk Games' previous game, Off-World Trading Company, which, by the way, I highly recommend. If you have Game Pass, I believe the full version of the game is available. If you are a fan of multiplayer, the multiplayer game is free to play. If you're somebody who likes to focus on single player like myself, then that campaign is paid. But basically, there's adjacency bonuses in the game, and much like Off-World Trading Company, if you've played it, there's a little bit of a strategy in terms of just building little pyramids. I shouldn't say pyramids because that is actually a wonder you can build in this game, but you get the idea, right? Like you can maximize your benefits by sort of placing a little triangle of items. Now again, that doesn't mean that you only build pyramids. Like in this case, I've sort of been building quarries everywhere, mostly because I can't actually access the mountains yet. But that's a way that you can sort of make your resources go a little bit further. Now, one temptation is to build the Odeon. You'll notice that Dilbat in particular is really short on urban tiles, and I need to fix that. So one option is to build the garrison, the other is to build the Odeon. The Odeon will give me culture, and culture is going to be something that will sort of help me pull this thing out of the Dark Ages. We've had Dilbat for a while. Dilbat's actually the reason we went to war with Assyria, so I think in this case the Odeon makes sense. It does cost me stone, which is a little bit of a worry, but... And again, these things I'm not moving quite yet because I want to make sure I don't have anything else to do with my workers. I could have gone to the list, but sometimes I just like tabbing. And I guess the question is, what do I want to do in the capital? There's a few things. So I can get an early training in on the settler. We can start building up the military again. Alternatively, I can also be upgrading my acolytes, officers, poets, or I could finally build some of the infrastructure that I need. I'm probably going to go for walls first, and that's just simply because that's a really easy way for me to pull back on some of the discontent. By building an archer that will go in place there, or in place in the city, I can draw back some of the discontent. Just by having a garrison, and I really should have a garrison in my cities anyway. Yeah, actually, I don't think that's a dumb question, but it is very much like Gridtorum has got you for that answer. Like it is very much so. If you're not familiar with the game, this is Soren Johnson's return to the 4X genre. Soren Johnson worked on at least AI, but I also think did some design work on Civilization 3, but is best known for his work on Civilization 4. And there's an interesting GDC talk that he gave sort of about sort of the inheritance of a genre and this idea of sort of raising some questions about what's really necessary. He gives some fun examples from Dota 2. Like, I'm definitely a bigger Dota 2 fan than I am League, but I think he makes some very good points about some of the things that Dota 2 has inherited from Warcraft 3, even though it's completely unnecessary. Like it's built in the source engine. They have complete control over everything that they can do. And so in this case here, most scenarios are going to be procedurally generated. I believe in this particular case, this map does actually repeat because this is part of the new learning scenarios that they've put in. And kind of like Civilization, there are some maps which reflect the real world. So you'll have the Mediterranean, for instance. But yeah, if you just kind of say I'm gonna hit new game and I'm not gonna worry about any pre-generated maps, it'll load a map just like Civ. Of course, Grudatorum said that in one sentence, and I said it in 10. So I will refer all questions to chat next time. All right. Well, I guess I'm back to my old cycling tricks. So yeah, this is the fact that I've actually got these leftover orders suggests to me that I should be building some more workers. But again, we're already working on that. So let's focus on... So now my priorities should be moving my scouts. Now the nice thing here is there's a lot of wood, so I don't need to worry about getting beat up by the barbarians. I almost want to buy the wood, but... we'll move the slinger. So again, you kind of see the logic from last time being applied, where I have a bunch of military units which are already healed, and it makes as much sense, in my opinion, to just kind of send them out into the big wide world. I also actually have a chance to add some generals, though, and I should be taking advantage of that. I should be taking some more actions with my followers, but you've completed the legacy of Queen Kashaya the Just. Capture 3 cities, Assyria. Judaism has established legalism. Nabonidus the Debauched. My uncle has died. There's no easy day in the life of Duchess Den Kitam, your sister. She has earned 1 discipline, and Lamasani has converted to Babylonian paganism. So as always, an orders boost would be nice, but we are really rushing to try and achieve things like scholarship and vaulting. So citizenship is on our path to scholarship. That's going to take us 6 years. We have 17. So remember, we also need vaulting, which is going to take some effort. So it's definitely a tough journey ahead. So the big determining factor here would be camps or mines. So there's 1 mine, 1 camp. Honestly, I can see it going either way. But I think I'm going to give it to the Kassites, because then I can give this site to the Chaldeans, and we have another big source of lumber. Also, mountains nearby, so we can do some well, the quarries don't matter because it's mines and lumber mills. So yeah, Kassites get Aser. True nature. In his philosophical studies, Erba has been working under a tutor who is applying the Babylonian study of astronomy to philosophy, developing a theory about the ideal nature of the early universe. The applications of this could completely shift the understanding of the patterns of the celestial bodies, although some are resistant to the changes. So you can bring the scientist-philosopher to court or encourage Erba in his studies. I do normally like giving bonuses to my characters, and they are reasonably high in the succession. But let's bring the court scholar, because we do actually need to improve our science. So a new court scholar, Gashin Sunu, has joined the court. Her curiosity and insight will aid Babylonia in unraveling the mysteries of the world. Welcome, Gashin Sunu, the scientist. Now that Prince Abel Sin has completed his study of tactics, how shall he contribute to the court? So he'll be a tactician, a brave and clever military mind, or a zealot. Now, we definitely do not need a reduction to wisdom, and they are going to be inheriting the throne, so unless I change that. But all right, tutorial, appoint a spy master. You have researched the Portcullis technology, and you have an available candidate on your court with a tactician, schemer, or scholar archetype. And you have an available candidate on your court with a tactician, schemer, or scholar archetype. Then you may appoint a spy master using the glowing eye icon in the top right of the screen. And again, this is kind of nice as far as the tutorial is concerned, because you get a bonus. Basically, you get a bonus on, or not the bonus, but you get the freebie in terms of appointment. Now, it seems that this person's not a fan. So that's going to have some consequences if I appoint them. Extra unhappiness per city and a reduction in orders. That's actually, based on courage and discipline. But there is a bonus towards science. So I feel pretty crummy about it, but we will appoint them, and maybe we'll put some effort into mending fences. We will, however, tutor Duke Erba, and let's also find a wife. So I think we need to shore up things with the Chaldeans. Although, if you take a look at the family, the Chaldeans are... We started off as Kassites, but there's certainly a lot of Chaldeans in the succession now. Okay, lots of things to do. Lots of things to do in the area, but let's start by... We'll start with our usual efforts on civilian matters. Yeah, so in this case here, it's just gems. I don't really like I've just been trying to figure out what I want from them. I suspect I'll probably wind up trading for some of this other stuff I need for the cassites. I think we can get the honey up here. Actually, we should have fur though. But honestly, we traded for salt, so I've kind of been holding on to it for a bit. Most of the time, I've just been using my orders for other things. And I don't know. I'm just trying to really think about what the one like. So when I basically what I do right now is I take a look at the things that I can do with the gems right now, and it's like manage cities. Well, like maybe, you know, manage family. Well, we've already sent them to the Chaldeans, so I could kind of send them to the Kassites or the Amorites, but it's sort of why do it one over the other. And then I kind of apply that same story to just about all of the others. And in one sense, like, this has been true for a lot of my playthroughs, where I'm sort of like, well, then I just wind up having this resource that never gets used, and that's not good either. But I don't know. I've always sort of struggled to. I always really want to find that perfect use, and that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. We'll figure it out though. Okay, I don't really want to establish a network yet. I'm really more focused on seeing what the barbarians are up to. I definitely feel we're under invested as far as workers are concerned. So let's maybe take a quick look. So I'm a bit weirded out about the fact that there are these bonuses when it says inside of Carthage. That seems a bit weird that I'd be getting all of these bonuses. Surely this would be if I was setting them up as a governor. I honestly don't use agents that much, so let's instead... Can I make nice with Babylonian pagan? Oh god, yes, we need to work on these guys. Okay. So, let's influence... I could trade, but let's continue the migration. So I get to upgrade you to an archer. Should probably upgrade these guys to a axeman. I think we're going to do the same story as before. We should invest in a worker first and then move on. Yeah, and all of a sudden I've used up all my actions. But more importantly, we are on our way to causing some trouble for the barbarians. Melishappak of Babylon is converted to Assyrian pagan. Oh, that's not good. Miriam the merchant has tutored Prince Abel Sin, improving his charisma. Oligarch Zakidi the drunk has died. Oligarch Atsunu the younger is now head of the Kassite family. Their opinion of you has gone from pleased to friendly. And Spymaster's Ramad has died in office. All right, well. We got our marriage proposal from the Chaldeans. We're 43 and we can marry my cousin who's 22. Oh, no, hang on. It's Abel Sin. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So, courage and discipline. Or charisma, courage, and discipline. Both are actually kind of tempting, but in this case we'll go for the second. Epic poetry. A young poetess versed in the art of reciting epics has appeared in court asking for your patronage. What shall we tell her? She can recite poems for the public for additional culture. She can teach me what she knows. We'll get additional wisdom. I like that because of the continued science investment or enter the court service, which again is very tempting, but I think we're going to go for the wisdom boost. I think we read this last time. Let me just double check that. Because I think this was the event that prompted us to talk about Procopius. Didn't seem to... Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's try that again. A riot broke out today at the circus in Babylon during the chariot races between the supporters of the blue, green, red, and white teams. The ringleaders have been rounded up. What should we do with them? And yes, this is the same. I'm not gonna do the whole story because I'm actually basically at the end of the stream, but we'll do a quick recap for those of you not familiar because this one did my head in. The Nika riots, the Nika revolt took place against the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I in Constantinople over the course of the week of 532 AD. They're often regarded as the most violent riots in the city's history, with nearly half of Constantinople being burned or destroyed and tens of thousands of people killed. Actually, okay, it's not that long. So, the ancient Roman and Byzantine empires had well-developed associations known as the demies, which supported different factions or teams to which competitors in certain sporting events belonged, especially in chariot racing. There were initially 4 major factions in chariot racing, differentiated by the color of the uniform in which they competed. The colors were also worn by their supporters. These were the blues, the venti, the greens, the presini, the reds, the rosati, and the whites, albati. Although by the 6th century, the only teams with any influence were the blues and greens. Emperor Justinian I was a supporter of the blues. To Curiosity, silent lurk because you're in your stream, but a lurk nonetheless. Well, I must be sure to, if there isn't an old world host, I will be sure to get in touch later on. Thank you very much for stopping by, Tiberiosity. The demies had become a focus for various social and political issues for which the general Byzantine population lacked other forms of outlet. They combined aspects of street gangs and political parties, taking positions on current issues, including theological problems and claimants to the throne. They frequently tried to affect imperial policy by shouting political demands between races. The imperial forces and guard... By the way, I still love this idea. Like, could you imagine... I'm in Canada right now, so the Conservative Party just did their election. So could you imagine in the middle of like an Ottawa Senators hockey game, somebody's like, "You can avoid inflation by buying Bitcoin." Please don't do that, by the way. That is a very silly position that person probably shouldn't have said. But anyways, history's fun. They frequently tried to affect imperial policy by shouting political demands between races. The imperial forces and guards in the city could not keep order without the cooperation of the factions, which were in turn backed by the aristocratic families of the city. These included some families who believed they had a more rightful claim to the throne than Justinian. In 531, some members of the Blues and Greens were arrested for murder in connection with deaths during rioting after a chariot race. Relatively limited riots were not unknown at chariot races, similar to football hooliganism that occasionally erupts after association football matches in modern times. The murderers were to be executed, and most of them were. However, on January 10th, 532, 2 of them, a blue and a green, escaped and sought sanctuary in a church surrounded by an angry mob. Justinian was nervous. He was in the midst of negotiating with the Persians over peace in the east at the end of the Iberian War, and he now faced a potential crisis in his city. Therefore, he declared that a chariot race would be held on January 13th and commuted the sentences to imprisonment. The Blues and the Greens responded by demanding that the 2 men be pardoned entirely. Now, this entry doesn't have like a marker for a good entry, but I actually like... So I don't want to talk... This isn't about the history, but I actually really like the way that this has been written, because like if you think about the story, right, this whole setup on here, you kind of know something's about to happen, and it's like immediately at this line I'm like, well, tell me more. Like, when does the riot start? Clearly something's gonna happen. So like there's definitely some encyclopedia entry. Like, okay, the Warhammer 40k wiki is my like go-to for over enthusiasm killing an interesting subject. The Warhammer 40k wiki has got some really like great source material to work with. Everybody knows what 40K is, but it can be tedious to read some of it because it's just so detailed. This reads a little bit like a good short story. So now we're going to get to the good bit. Causes. Justinian and two of his leading officials, John the Cappadocian and Tribonian, were extremely unpopular because of the high taxes they levied, the corruption of the latter two, and John's cruelty against debtors. John and Justinian had also reduced spending on the civil service and combated the corruption of the civil service. The many nobles who had lost their power and fortune when removed from the smaller, less corrupt civil service had joined the ranks of the Greens. Justinian was also reducing the power of both teams. The Greens saw this as imperial oppression akin to the reforms in the civil service, while the Blues felt betrayed. The Roman legal code had a popular image as distinguishing the civilized Romans from barbarians. The law code was also religiously important, as the Romans believed it to be chosen by God, it being a symbol of justice. As such, if an emperor successfully made significant legal reforms, it would lend him legitimacy, but if the process bogged down, it showed divine anger. What had taken 9 years for the Theodosian Code took Justinian just 13 months. Just before the Nicaea riots of January 532, however, the pace of reforms had slowed. At the same time, Justinian was fighting an unsuccessful war against the Persians, while Byzantine victories at Dara, spring 530, and Satala, summer of 530, had briefly fostered his legitimacy. The defeat at Celcinium, 531, and negative strategic situation damaged the emperor's reputation. The legal reforms were unpopular with the aristocracy from the start, and they made it impossible to use obscure laws and jurisprudence to avoid unfavorable verdicts. Further, both Justinian and his wife Theodora were of low birth. Byzantine society was not as class-driven as the feudal-dominated society of the West. The Greens were a monophysite group and represented the interests of the moneyed non-landowners, Justinian being neither of those. Thus, when Justinian refused to pardon the two arrested rioters, there was already resentment towards him among both the general populace and the aristocracy. Riots. Now to the good part. On January 13th, 532, an angry crowd arrived at the Hippodrome for the races. The Hippodrome was next to the palace complex, so Justinian would preside over the races from the safety of his box in the palace. From the start, the crowd hurled insults at Justinian. By the end of the day, at race 22, the partisan chants had changed from blue or green to unified Nika, meaning win, victory, or conquered. And the crowds broke out and began to assault the palace. For the next 5 days, the palace was under siege. Fires started during the tumult, destroyed much of the city, including the city's foremost church, the Hagia Sophia, which Justinian would later rebuild. Some of the senators saw this as an opportunity to overthrow Justinian, as they were opposed to his new taxes and his lack of support for the nobility. The rioters, now armed and probably controlled by their allies in the Senate, also demanded that Justinian dismiss the prefect John the Cappadocian and the quaestor Tribonian. They then declared a new emperor, Hypatius, or possibly Hypatius, a nephew of the former emperor Anastasis I. Justinian considered fleeing, but his wife Theodora is said to have dissuaded him, saying, "Those who have worn the crown should never survive its loss. Never will I see the day when I am not saluted as an empress." She is also credited with adding, "Who is born into the light of day must sooner or later die, and how could an emperor ever allow himself to be a fugitive?" Although an escape route across the sea lay open for the emperor, Theodora insisted that she would stay in the city, quoting an ancient saying, "Royalty is a fine burial shroud," or perhaps the royal color purple makes a fine winding sheet. Justinian created a plan that involved Narses, a popular eunuch, and the generals Belisarius and Mundus, Belisarius the last Roman. Carrying a bag of gold given to him by Justinian, the slightly built eunuch entered the Hippodrome alone and unarmed. Narses went directly into the Blues section, and where he approached the important Blues and reminded them that Justinian had supported them over the Greens. He also reminded them that Hypatius, the man they crowned, was a Green. He distributed the gold, and the Blue leaders spoke quietly with each other and addressed their followers. In the middle of Hypatius' coronation, many Blues left the Hippodrome, while the Greens remained. Then, imperial troops led by Belisarius and Mundus stormed the Hippodrome, killing any remaining people indiscriminately, be they Blues or Greens. About 30,000 people were reportedly killed. Justinian had Hypatius executed and exiled the senators who had supported the riot. He then rebuilt Constantinople and the Hagia Sophia and was free to establish his rule. Again, 30,000 rioters killed, so slightly larger than football hooliganism. But I love this event. Like that was definitely one of the events I was like, man, that is a really good one that they just added. And apparently community contribution, so thank you, Keith. Yeah, the date would be a little too on the nose. Okay, so send the army, crush the rioters. 4 rebel units and 3 improvements destroyed in Babylon, but we gain axemen. Or despite the scale of the violence, this is a matter for local courts. Oh no, no. I'm willing to give up a building. Oh, 3 improvements. Well. Okay. We're finally ready to move. So I wonder how we know what improvements were destroyed. Wait, where are the other axemen? Wasn't I promised 3? Oh, there they are. I could have thought that through a little bit better. I kind of want to really stick it to the elephant, so because they're going to be able to move my units all over the place. Don't have enough to wipe out the elephant, sadly. We can redirect some of our... Oh, we're just shy of where we need for the... This is one where probably a forced march makes sense. So obviously this archer's now open to retaliation, but I think that was worth it. Okay. What other horrible things do I need to deal with now? We obviously don't have that much left in terms of our actions that we can take. What I'm probably a little more interested in... Okay, we just finished the walls. We don't have the wood for an archer. We are quite some time off from philosophy, so the forum's not really going to help me here. Could go early on a settler. Honestly, let's keep investing in our officers, because it's clear I'm going to need some more military help. Let's get the trapper, because we need those to bring the Kassites on side, although it's such a shame that we're spending so long. Okay, the rest of this looks like... Again, I'd love to do civilian matters, but we really don't have that much left as far as our orders are concerned. So let's get some healing in. So I think what we'll do is we'll deal with the rebellion, and then we can call it a night. I wonder if I'm going to be able to repair all this stuff in time. Patriarch Meli Shippak of Babylon is now head of Assyrian paganism. You've successfully exerted your influence upon Chancellor Ninsunu the Younger. More confident than ever in the face of danger, Duchess Stenkitum the Foolish has gained courage. Oligarch Amil Marduk the Romantic has died. Prince Abil Sin the Strict is now head of the Chaldean family. I think they're in the... Yeah, they're next in line for succession, so good news for us there. And an illegitimate daughter. Great. You can use your Spymaster to conduct secret missions. Just select the portrait of your Spymaster in the top right, and you will see their available actions in the panel to the left side of the screen. The Spymaster can execute missions like infiltrate nations, steal research, assassinate, and more. Ninsunu is your Chancellor. I kind of feel at this point... I kind of just need to constantly go into wisdom, although I notice it's just going to give me growth rather than... Nah, I'm still going to go for wisdom. Okay. It's probably tempting fate a little bit too much to go right beside... Oh, that's Persian now. Hopefully they try not to take advantage of it. I do like that it's not like Civilization where you'll take damage if they attack your settler, but you don't like give up your free set. You don't give them a free settler if you if they do successfully attack it. So small bonus there. I'm gonna focus on taking out the slinger first. But I do want to take out the Axeman as well, so... Almost, but not quite there. Okay, do I have any workers that I can... Okay, so I want these guys improving, or repairing the improvements as soon as possible. You do need urban improvements, but it's hard not to take advantage of natural resources. Alright, so it looks like we're going to need another turn before the rebellion's dealt with. However, I don't think we're in danger of losing units anymore. I suppose it raises the question, like, do I want to dedicate more units to try and deal with the riot? I don't think that's the right call. Should probably be a little more careful with this unit, but... Okay, I don't really have that much left for actions I can take, but... Let's just make sure we don't lose anybody up here. So yeah, 40 orders for Carthage. This is one of the things where I probably get a lot out of seeing how the AI plays the game, because the fact that they have so many orders on top of the fact that they've got a stronger army than me is the sort of thing that I should be paying attention to. That's a lot of free workers. Okay. Carthage is converted to Zoroastrianism. Reports of a tribal raid from a Numidian encampment near Dilbat. That's good that it's Dilbat because we have some form of defense there. Gashunu the scientist has tutored Duke Araba, improving his discipline, and Agum of Dilbat has died. I think that might have been the governor. Philosophy studies. Now that Duke Araba has completed his study of philosophy, how shall he contribute to the court? I think I'm going to go for scholar just on the odd chance that they join the... they're close enough in the line of succession that we make them a ruler. A scribe in Babylon has staged a series of narrative performances in which characters are played by a cast of actors reciting dialogue. It is an odd yet interesting development. Sadly, much of his work involves a heated criticism of the court's politics. In one instance, he likens you to the stench of an overflowing latrine. Normally, we might support this exciting new voice, but the content gives you pause. So the court should support the arts, even those that challenge us. So all families will give me -20 opinion, but bonus to culture and a reduction in discontent, or we do not need further sedition and unrest. Honestly, I don't exactly need the civics right now, so I can take a little bit of a hit. We're on reasonably good terms with everyone except the Amorites. So I think in this case we can support the arts. This is a weird move that I'm doing here, but I'm going to take 2 moves. I feel so bad I did this. Oh man, I didn't even get the city site back. Okay. Again, we're just trying to get to the city site. I should have... Your civilization doesn't last 10 turns because you just try to imitate 21st. I wasn't sure if you were talking about old world or civilization, and then I registered what you were saying. Okay, let's hit him with the axe first. And if I double up the archers, we can get some healing in. Oh, nice. Actually, I think there's a slightly better way I can do this. If I move this archer in, we accomplish the same thing, but I get to heal 2 units. Okay, let's find workers who are idle. Again, lumber mills are a high priority. Looks like we are going to be able to get the repairs that we need in. This was our stronghold. Right, that's good. So it's recommending a range here. I think this actually might be good for... it's lush, so this would have normally been good for farms. But again, we're drowning in food, so it's not like this is a priority. We do have the opportunity to build some more wonders. We're far from 600 stone. So the funny thing is it's recommending a quarry here. What I would guess... yeah, if I put ranges and barracks beside this thing, it's better. Oh, interesting, but I'm not allowed to build... I would have thought that this counted as an urban tile. Interesting. So now I see why it was recommending a range here. Then the question is, am I willing to spend the wood? I don't think I am, actually. I do like the idea of the training, but I feel like there are other things that I can get right now. So it's recommending a hamlet here, presumably to improve the reach of urban tiles. And I don't hate that option, but I'm actually going to build another quarry. Definitely quarry here. Again, it's a raw resource for most of the stuff that I want to do, so it's really hard to turn that down. Also, I should be focusing on the adventures. Hey! Salty sauce! The flow of salt into Dilbat has spurred a wave of culinary innovation. Most notably, it has resulted in a delicious sauce made by fermenting the guts of fish in brine. Oh, sorghum! People in Dilbat are already using this sauce in almost all of their cooking. It's called sorghum, right? People in Dilbat are already using this sauce in almost all of their cooking, and it doubtless will soon spread throughout all of Babylonia. Let me just see if I got that right. Oh no, garum. Garum is what I meant, not sorghum. But I can find it in Wikipedia. I believe this is what it's referring to. I must try some. Okay, so again, we wanted to see what was going on with the barbarians. We've got that. I think I can afford to train the scout in Babylon now. So Larsa, we just finished walls. I'm eventually going to build an archer, but we're not quite there yet. An acolyte wouldn't be terrible because of the culture. Then again, an officer wouldn't be bad to speed things up. Stonecutter also would be good because of the extra civics. So what one do I want the most? Actually, Stonecutter. because Stonecutter I can put into faster officers when the time comes. Okay, Eridu. This actually is a reasonable candidate for walls as well, so I can build an archer. On the other hand, woodcutter is really desirable because I need as much wood as I can possibly get. So, woodcutter it is. Dilbat. So miner extends the borders, rancher gets me the orders plus the science. Yeah, hard to argue against the ranger here. So, let's end the turn, and I think we gotta call it there. Sorry, I realize I've just kind of been rambling out orders the last little while. Oh, actually, there might be one other thing I do. I'll see if I can found that city. That's what I get for not checking the fog of war. Egypt declares war on Carthage. That's good news for me, actually. Duchess Demkedem the Foolish still feels fear, as does any sane woman, but she never lets it stop her. She's gained +1 courage. Governor Iltani the Scientist, governor of Babylon, has died in office, and a keen student of plants and animals, Duke Ereba is a naturalist of some fame. Today we grieve the death of Iltani the Scientist, a member of the Babylonian court. Her spirit will be venerated, and her deeds will be remembered. She served us well. So we definitely want a new governor. If we can, somebody who's good at science. So yeah, even though this is going to cost me money, we want to crank out as much science as we can in hopes that we're going to be able to achieve this ambition. Okay, not quite enough to found the city, but a good start. And because I'm committed to it here, let's at least get some basics done. So it seems to me like it's not a bad idea to get pretty aggressive on these guys. There's no real good way of doing this. I think we just launch our arrows and hope for the best. And let's think a little bit about workers. I won't do the whole turn. It's hard to say anything but a garrison at this point. I'll probably put like a range here. We've discovered the Pannonian Plain. Also found some Egyptian units. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. So overall, what we're going to try and do next week, I suspect I'm not going to be able to get any more Old World in. However, if you are interested in historical strategy games, I'm going to do my best to do more of Imperium's Greek Wars on Friday. Now, no promises on that because there's a fairly long manual that I am going to have to try and find the time to read. But here's a general idea of what I'm going to try and accomplish here. So, our main goal of taking out Assyria... So, originally the goal wasn't necessarily to take out Assyria. It was mostly just to be able to claim whatever cities I could before I got like a reasonable truce offer. As it turns out, though, we wound up with an ambition to take the 3 cities. And then on top of that, the war went from going at a somewhat mediocre pace to working really well for us. So the nice thing here is that for the most part, I can kind of leave this alone. Now, it's not perfect because Numidians are going to send raiders, and of course Persia does have a presence here, so it's fair to say that this new city and Gozan will potentially be the source of conflict later on. My main focus is still going to be on potentially taking out Egypt. Now, interestingly enough, Egypt is now sort of at the bottom of the list in terms of overall levels. It's also maybe worth noting here that for all of the other forces, it's not necessarily the case that so there's no more entities that count as stronger than us. However, it is also fair to note that only one of them counts as weaker, and so in that sense, we're still sort of behind the curve. On the other hand, it is also fair to say, if you just take a look at how I've been organizing my cities, we've definitely been investing a lot in terms of civilian matters, and I think that's going to pay off in the long run. So, there's going to be two sorts of phases in terms of how we approach next week's sessions. Number one, we're going to clear out this barbarian camp, and we've got a settler coming in 2 turns, so we'll get a kind of a free city off of that. If I'm looking for sort of cheap expansion, I should be able to do so at the expense of the Numidians. But again, there's something of a question as to whether or not that's worth it. Also, I can just use my scouts to sort of look around the world and see if there's anything I can take advantage of. If I'm looking for a more natural expansion target, that would definitely be Egypt. I'd say at the very least, these two are natural acquisition targets, possibly Waset, but I think it's fair to say that there's going to be military units inside of this. Obviously, there's going to be. And if I don't pay attention to my kind of border towns here, I suspect the Egyptians are going to come sort of running in and take Larsa from me. So the first phase, once I get my easy expansion done, the next phase is going to be getting sort of a garrison for my cities, starting to move some of my main military force, getting a few upgrades in. So things like upgrading the swordsman or the warrior, turn that into like an axe unit. We don't have a good idea in terms of what the Egyptians are fielding so far as their main types of units. So in this case, maybe spearmen would be a better use. I don't know. If we can get some scouts to make some determinations on that, that would be good. Although certainly focusing on axemen for the infantry will free up the wood for the archers, which are something that I do want to put some heavy investment into. And then on top of just simply getting my garrisons in place, and that's largely just to help deal with discontent, it would be nice to have a fairly sizable set of archers just to go and take care of enemy units before they show up. So there's certainly a lot of investment that I'm going to need to make inside of my military, although I do think that I think for the most part, that's something that's achievable. So I suspect probably next week there's still going to be a lot of development, but it's definitely going to be a little bit more organized in terms of being able to get some real gains off of it. Another dilemma I'm going to be facing is my next city. So this one's a very obvious candidate for the Chaldeans, just for all that extra wood. There's a small argument that we make this a Kassite city because we're going to be able to harvest the pearls. And again, yes, we can build a bunch of lumber mills here. Yes, we're going to be able to build a mine. This is actually a good source of salt for us. So there's a side of me that wants to found the city here. But I don't know. I can't deny the pearls either. We'll see. Again, that's a next week me problem to deal with. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Taking a little longer on this than I thought I would, but I don't know. The lower difficulty is actually kind of a nice change of pace, to be honest. I'm hoping that So the one thing that worries me a little bit about this session is there's definitely a couple times where the AI caught me by surprise, and I wound up having... just losing a unit to 2 enemy units, whereas it felt like I took 4 to take out one of theirs. But I feel like that's maybe something I'll learn over time. So let's go to the main menu. I'm going to try and find somebody to host tonight. Thank you, Takri. I hope you got some good work done on your emotes. I just need a second here to load up Twitch to see who's available. We've got a few good people. Oh god, actually there's a lot of people online tonight. Let's see if we've got... Okay, sadly, no old world streamers. So I'm going to shout out a couple people. I'm going to leave you to your judgment on a couple of these. Okay, so... a few people who are online. We've got Outworld, who is currently doing Mortal Kombat 2. Now, I quite like Outworld. He's an Australian broadcaster. He just recently got some good news he's been living in effectively like a shed for the past year, and he's just had a kid. So he's celebrating finally getting a place in a really, really tough housing market. But I've hosted him a couple of times. So you know, I feel it would be nice to sort of distribute things a little bit. One of his mods is also streaming, so that's the Wolf Arok, and I know we've actually seen him a couple of times before. The only thing I'll say is he's currently playing Army Men Omega Soldier, Green Rogue, and he doesn't really like that game that much. He's more doing it as part of a challenge. So it feels a little weird to host him on something that maybe he's not going to be doing. I mean, he's fine at it, but like, kind of you want to try and take some of the positive energy and pass that off into something that you know, that works for people. But I do have Tiberiosity, and he was actually just in here a little while ago. But he's currently doing Earth Defense Force 5. So I can't hang out. I actually needed to get to bed about an hour ago. But I think Tiberiosity is a great one for me to leave on. I think he's a good one for me to end the night on. So I've also not seen Earth Defense Force 5, but I'm going to have to save that for another time. So either way, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry this is such a long goodbye. I'm going to try and get some semblance of sleep, because I actually have to go into the office tomorrow, and I didn't get a full night's sleep last night, so I was hoping to try and get a couple extra hours tonight. Good news is I got my rating done. But yeah, please treat Tiberiosity well. He's definitely been a dedicated viewer of the channel. Please give him my best. I will see some of you next week, for those of you who are just here for Old World. I'll see some of you Wednesday for some more Phantom Brigade, most likely. And then for those of you looking for the mysteries on Friday, that's most likely going to be Imperium's Greek Wars. But as always, we'll see what comes up. Anyways, have a great night. We'll talk to you next time.